So hello, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our first ever Bayer Crop Science Innovation Summit. It's wonderful to see all of these faces in the room. I've seen some of you already this morning, I know. But it's great that you can join us, and thanks to everybody that's joining us also today on the live stream. We've got so much in store for you this afternoon, and I'm really excited to share it with you. My name's Tom Armitage, and I'm the head of communications, and together with my team, we'll be hosting you for this afternoon's session. We're really excited to be with you here in New York, effectively bringing our labs and our fields, and more importantly, our vision for the future of agriculture to you here in New York City. This is a very new and fresh format. We chose that specifically so that we could share our new opportunities and our innovation with you. And we're really intentionally looking at what is possible, the art of the possible, and diving then later into the details of how we're going to be able to bring that to life. So here is the schedule. Rodrigo Santos, our crop science president, will open the event for us. He'll be then followed by Jeremy Williams, who leads digital farming, Frank Terhorst, our head of strategy and sustainability for crop science, and they're going to share together our vision for the farms of the future, as well as our strategic priorities. Then Bob Reiter, our head of crop science R&D, and several of our key leaders in R&D and sustainability are going to be providing a deeper dive look into the 5 core innovation engines that power our vision. As always, before we begin, I need to point you to our cautionary statements, which are both on the screen here and in the materials posted online, as this presentation may contain forward-looking statements. So with that, let's get started.
Good afternoon. So welcome to New York. It's so great to see all of you here. Thank you very much for coming here and spending this afternoon with us. So today, I'll share our vision for the future of farming and how that's shaped by the concept of regenerative agriculture. And then how it made both core parts of our strategy that differentiate us at Bayer. As you heard from Tom, this is the first time we've done anything like this. Usually, we take you for the future of farming in the field. However, we are doing something different today. We are bringing the farm to the city, and we will share with you our vision from what the future of ag will look like. The breakthrough innovation you associate with Bayer are there. You will see how real technology comes together in a new connected systems that show up in farm fields around the world in a completely different way over the next 10 years. So let's start with the challenge. 2 of the most recognized globally challenges that we have, food security and climate change. And here's the situation for the farmers. By 2050, climate change is projected to reduce their harvest yields by 17%. On top of this, we are seeing 20% less land that they can use for farming. And this is for the farmers. For us consumers, this is how it looks like. By 2050, we need to feed an additional 2.2 billion people. That's 2.2 billion more mouths to feed. Combined with climate change impact, we need to increase food and feed output by 50% for that higher demand and shifting diets. So the data paints a very clear picture for us in agriculture. We need to do things differently. We need to innovate the future of farming to address these challenges. And this is where regenerative agriculture comes in. At Bayer, we see the same challenges, and we are motivated to do something about it. Applying the science we know today, digging even deeper to unlock more sustainable solutions and bringing them to a scale we can help alter these world projections. This shift in regenerative agriculture, and we define this as increasing food production, farm incomes, and climate change resilience while renewing nature. So for us at Bayer, regenerative agriculture is two things. First is productivity, helping farms to produce more with less. And second is the idea of restoring more, having positive impact like improving soil health, restoring biodiversity, and conserving water. So regenerative agriculture is important because it's scalable. And it's built on two factors everyone in ag already focus on: productivity and impact. And these are really actionable. So why Bayer, right? So why Bayer? It's hard to distinguish one sustainability story from another, right? So why do we believe we can contribute and we can make a difference? So first, because we believe we can deliver regenerative agriculture at scale. And why that? We have two reasons to believe that. The first one is our global presence. We work with millions of farmers every day, so we have a leading position in the market. And second, also because we have this pipeline innovation. Because of those farmers, we are the #1 in corn, #1 in soybean, #1 in herbicides, and we have a strong position in crops and in crop protection solutions. And the second reason is what I was telling, the leading portfolio and pipeline. Because of our long experience and industry-leading investment in R&D, Bayer has a comprehensive portfolio of farming solutions, plus a help lineup of upcoming breakthrough products unmatched by any other company in the market. So let me be very clear. Regenerative agriculture is not a buzzword for us. Our ambition is really to our products and our technology and our innovation come together to help the farmers to produce more, unlock new revenue sources, and protect and improve the environment. And we believe we're better positioned than anyone to do that. So in the end, this is our competitive advantage. This ambition only matters if you have the horsepower to back it up. At Bayer, we have the horsepower. We made a major shift on our abilities. We switch our mindset from products to systems, right? In the past, we always show a picture of these three categories here: seeds and traits, crop protection, and digital. Our belief to lead in regenerative agriculture, we now look at our products as enablers for an outcome-based systems of solutions. So as we look deeper in our pipeline, we will focus on 5 exciting innovation engines. These are breeding, biotech, small molecules, biologicals, and digital science. And we are going to cover these 5 in detail today with the team. And the combination of these innovation engines differentiate us and allow us to think differently about how ag can work as a system. So for Bayer, this is about how we bring sustainability targets into our core business. In fact, the move to regenerative agriculture is going to drive our growth. And today, our accessible market has a value of more than 100 billion euros globally by using the systems to unlock new opportunities. And everything from carbon farming to biologicals to digital platforms, our market opportunity reach over 200 billion euros. That is doubling our accessible market today. And we don't see ourselves just participating, but we want really to co-lead this innovation in this market. So right now, another important information, right now with our seeds and trait technologies alone, Bayer reached more than 340 million acres. And in the coming years, we have the potential to expand to more than 400 million acres. That's the scalable. With that scale, you can imagine the level of impact we can make in regenerative ag. Higher yields, leading to more food produced on less land, health farm soil, restoring biodiversity, conserving water, and making our farmers more resilient to climate change. But let's now talk how that works, right? So we believe that in the future, the terabytes of data we capture in the field and the tons of carbon dioxide we can sequester will be as important as yield for the farmers. And Jeremy and Frank are going to show you how these farms of the future come together. And I hope that after seeing these virtual farms of the future, you reach the same conclusion as we have here. We really believe, first, that regenerative agriculture is the future of this industry. And second, we believe that Bayer's position has the opportunity to really deliver regenerative agriculture at scale. This is because of the portfolio and the pipeline that I mentioned, the global presence, the leadership, but most important, the relationship that we have on a daily basis with millions of farmers in this planet. So all that said, let's learn ourselves from the experience of the farmers in the future. And for that, I invite Jeremy and Frank to lead us. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rodrigo. As Rodrigo mentioned earlier, we are here today to bring the farm to New York City. Now, logistically, the task of hauling in tons of soil and crops isn't what we had in mind. Instead, we'll take you on a journey around the world to be on the ground and in the farm. We're going to show you what we think the farms of the future are going to look like and how Bayer technologies will help growers become more sustainable, productive, and profitable. Farms across the globe face different challenges. And today, Frank and I will take you to 4 farms of the future to have a look at how Bayer is enabling regenerative agricultural practices on these farms with tailored systems of solutions. We'll see what a grower in the US is doing to expand into biofuels with a new cropping system. Visit a farmer in Spain who's producing higher quality tomatoes. Look in on a Brazilian farmer growing low carbon soybeans, and check out a rice farmer in India who is transforming his water use. These are just 4 of the more than 500 million global farmers, but we'll be able to see how in the future they're using Bayer solutions to take their operation to a whole new level. Those tools will help ensure that they are at the forefront of regenerative agriculture, and you will see an exciting vision of the future and the tomorrow for agriculture. With that, let's begin our voyage into the future with the fields of the American heartland. So our first farmer, John, operates a 5,000-acre farm in Illinois that his family has held for generations. But his farm looks a lot different than it used to. He's planting in his fields now a 3-crop system of Preceon smart corn, covercress, and next-generation herbicide-tolerant soybeans. With his regenerative ag powerhouse, John's no-till operation is yielding more than ever, while also restoring soil health and sequestering carbon. Let's take a look at the technologies behind this transformation. John chose to plant the newest biotech hybrid of the Preceon smart corn system, backed with the revolutionary technology of short stature corn. His decal hybrid was built from high-yielding germplasm enabled by Bayer's precision breeding. How did he get to healthy corn crops? So let's go back a few months earlier. Starting with his planting, John's FieldView system had more than a decade of data on his specific operation. So his trusted seed advisor was able to make recommendations that were tailored to his own fields. This review looked at previous successes and challenges on his farm, past trends from the local area, and larger predictive modeling for the coming season to make a plan that fit his farm. For John's purchases, his experience was he got his crop system of seeds, traits, and crop protection products without needing to provide any additional documentation. This was thanks to Microsoft Azure tools and a direct connection between his bank, retailer, and FieldView. This harmonized data environment allows seamless access to financing, insurance, other services for John and for other farmers. His purchase used outcome-based pricing, where his system of products came with a predicted yield and a plan for how to make it happen. John appreciated the convenience of the tools he needed being grouped together so he can optimize his yield, and he was more confident, given Bayer's performance guarantee, with his harvest. Now, when John began his planting, the planter he used was programmed directly for each of his fields by a digital script that was sent to his equipment. As he runs the planter through the fields, his planter adjusts density automatically for his fields and makes sure to optimize the spacing for each part of the area he's working on. Because John's plants had the next generation corn rootworm technology, he doesn't have to worry about this pest infesting his crops since he has season-long protection against it. More than the trait, though, a seed treatment combination of small molecules and microbes ensured that John's plants had the best start by encouraging seedling vigor and strong root development. In the mix were nitrogen-fixing microbes that take some of the nitrogen gas that make up 80% of the air we breathe every day, and fix it into forms that his crop can use. When a July thunderstorm came, it lodged and snapped a portion of his neighbor's crop, but John's short-stature corn remained standing. It was able to weather the storm. Now, later in the growing season, John conducted a survey of his fields with an overhead drone. This provided digital imagery in FieldView, which indicated early season signs of disease in a portion of his farm. This analysis was done with his disease management advisor. Now, because John is using Preceon, which is short stature, he could then have a late season application of a Delaro family fungicide being made with a ground sprayer. This allowed for much more precise application. With Bayer's expertise in formulation, he's able to get excellent efficacy with his fungicide, even though he's reducing his water use. Now, when John harvests his corn crop, he gets a notification from his foreground application. He's qualified for a carbon credit. This revenue is part of the verified regenerative ag practices that he has on his farm. The application lets him know that the carbon credits have been trending higher recently, and so he elects to sell the credit now to take advantage of the well-timed pricing. John is pulling in a healthy, high-yielding crop, exceeding his performance guarantee, and this is thanks to the adoption of a whole growing season of system solutions. Now, from the summer, we move to the fall. This is a time when most of John's neighbors are planting. They've completed their harvest, and now they're planting a cover crop, to use regenerative agricultural practices to increase the quality of their soil. Now, today, cover crops, yes, they help store carbon in the soil. They help improve soil health. And as I said, they increase organic matter, and they contribute to a healthy field and healthy microbiomes in the field. But John has gone a big step further because he has planted covercress, and it is a low-input winter oilseed cover crop that provides the benefits of a cover crop while being harvestable in the spring for use as a renewable, lower-carbon biofuel for the aviation industry. John can even use the same equipment that he uses for his other crop to harvest covercress in the spring. And this means he doesn't need to make any additional major equipment investments to get in his covercress crop. Just like his corn harvest, foreground helps ensure that he is part of the value chain he's creating. The platform allows him to track and measure the impact of his regenerative ag practices. This combination of Bayer tools and systems for covercress have enabled John to become part of a climate change solution. he's sequestering about 1 ton per acre in his operation. As a new crop and revenue stream, his introduction of this system improved soil health, promoted biodiversity, and it also had a net profit benefit for him of about $50 per acre. This is a cash and cover crop that can help fuel the world and is a clear win-win for farmers and also for the planet. Now, it's spring. And once again, after the harvest in May, he is now shifting to soybean production, and it's the same fields that he's going to use in the summer. He has confidence he can make the timing, as he has a prescriptive, long-season plan already in place from FieldView's multi-season crop planner. Just like his corn, John's Asgrow soybean varieties were specifically bred to meet his farm's environment. The crop planner has helped John select next-generation herbicide-tolerant soybeans bred for late planting, and they feature the newest herbicide tolerance traits for over-the-top use. This provides him 6 post-emergent herbicide options, and John's also looking forward to using a new mode of action that's coming in an upcoming herbicide tolerance system. Now, continuing his outcome-based approach, John has purchased a recommended custom seed treatment and a prescriptive weed control system to optimize his yield for later planted soybean fields. Getting his seeds into the ground, the newest accelerant soybean seed treatment helps the plants establish quickly with protection from early season pests. The product also contains biologicals to enhance development of deeper, stronger roots. And this is important because this summer is forecast to be hot and dry. The enhanced root structures from the microbials will help John's soybean crop make the most of every drop of water in his field. With herbicide-tolerant soybeans, John can also continue his no-till system to maximize his carbon sequestration practices. And again, the revenue he receives from verified carbon credits through foreground. At the same time, John is improving his soil quality and contributing to the benefits his farm receives from regenerative agricultural practices. His yields can now reach their full potential. With weeds under control, it's summertime on the farm, and it's a beautiful thing. Now, John's neighbors are starting to notice that his fields are productive, they're healthy, and that he's looking at another profitable harvest. They've started asking him, what is he doing differently? And he tells them, this is what the results of a system-based approach from Bayer can look like. Zooming out, we can clearly see how farming in North America will transform for the better. John and other farmers in North America can plant 3 crops over 2 seasons with outcome-based pricing, giving them confidence and a way to get there. The American farmer of the future is producing much more, earning more with additional revenue streams, and protecting both their farms and our planet through regenerative agricultural practices. Now that we've seen how these systems come together on this side of the world, I'll hand it over to Frank to walk us through our farm of the future in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy, and good afternoon to everyone here. From Illinois, let's take a trip across the Atlantic Ocean all the way to Almería, a city on the southern coast of Spain where growers have been innovating in intensive protected agriculture for decades. And they have continued to do so even as we look to the future. Almería's farmers produce food for millions of customers in Europe under protective greenhouses. Despite the arid climate, the city's groundwater and innovative structures make it possible for farmers to harvest twice, and sometimes even 3 times per year. While good, farmers are aware about regulatory trends leaning towards lower residue requirements and more sustainable practices, which are a cause for concern. One of these farmers is Pablo, a local farmer growing tomatoes in about 20 hectares or 50 acres. He started his season by selecting the newest De Ruyter tomato plants designed for protected agriculture. He chose this hybrid based on Bayer's precision breeding expertise and good resistance against tomato brown rugose fruit virus, a disease impacting growers in his community, damaging quality and reducing yields. With his plant selected, Pablo wants to give them the best chance to develop robust roots that will take advantage of every input he'll provide. So while his plants are still in the nursery stage, he'll start them on Serenade, a biological fungicide to enhance the root development. This solution also helps his plant to suppress fusarium in the soil, a disease that can potentially wipe out yields. He was especially interested this season in the Bayer NEMA tool, which helped him to decide on BioAct and Velum Prime. When used in combination, they help control nematodes, a major pest in tomato. At transplanting, where Pablo moves his plants from the nursery into the soil, he applies Ambition, a plant activator that stimulates plant growth on new shoots, flowering, fruit formation, and harvest by helping the plants to quickly recover from abiotic stresses. Even better, digital tools like Plant Balance helps Pablo to make better and more efficient cropping decisions. All variety specific for Pablo's tomatoes to help him to manage those options with data-driven insights. Based on in-season weather scenario and a 2-week forecast plotted in the insect and disease prediction tool, he's able to manage insect and diseases risk effectively. As Pablo's crop is getting close to harvest, and he doesn't want to spray anything that could delay his harvest or impact its marketability, he applies Vinity Press, a pheromone-based product, throughout his plants. By confusing the mating behavior of adult moths, Pablo has ensured that for the next 90 days, he can expect the population of the larva to stay within manageable levels. It's harvest time, and for Pablo, the taste, color, quality, and transportability are crucial factors in the success of his operation, and De Ruyter delivers. Bred to be harvested without damage to the fruit and to meet a particular flavor profile based on what local retailers prefer, his crop goes to the distributor with top grading. He also received a premium because through his use of the Bayer residue tool, he was able to plan in advance to meet the residue standards of his customers. If there were concerns on strict regulation, those are in the past. With the genetic improvements on disease resistance, biological solutions, sustainable traditional crop chemistries, all supported by digital tools, Pablo has more options than ever at his fingertips. He's getting higher yields and income while reducing water use, plus a 23% reduction in emissions per kilogram. His use of a science-based farming system brought success for his operations with less impact and satisfied tomato consumers. From this greenhouse in Spain, I give the floor back to Jeremy for our next farm for the future. Thank you.
All right, I'm back. Okay. So, from the tomato greenhouses in Spain, we will make our way to South America. The tropical climate in the state of Paraná allows our next future farmer, Ana, to operate a unique cropping system where soy and corn can be planted and harvested in the same year. On Ana's 1,500-acre farm, her main crop is soy, supported with safrinha corn rotation during the winter. Ana begins the season by reviewing her options via the next evolution of the Orbia platform. This is powered by FieldView data. She gets advice on potential seeds and traits based on her operational history and purchases. In addition, she gains access to value-adding services like financial support and insurance from the digital interface. Anna selects a high-yielding Monsoy soybean variety, precision-bred specifically for her farm and growing season. She was even able to buy the supporting crop protection products based on recommended systems through Orbia, with their application programs ready to be uploaded to her equipment when she needs to apply the product. As she reviews seed and trade options, Orbia also suggested that she consider a new variety for an area on her farm that's known to be drier than the rest, which Anna decided to try out this year. No matter the variety, Anna made sure to pick seeds that have tolerance to next generation herbicides, and this also includes our 4th generation Intacta insect control traits for soybean looper and velvet bean caterpillar. These trait stacks are critical for her success in the long growing season and tropical environment of Brazil. To ensure Anna's seeds start strong, they have been pre-treated using a biostimulant that combines microbials with broad insect and nematode control. With the soy growing, Anna has begun monitoring her fields digitally through field view alerts. So she gets notified early about developing insect and disease pressure on any part of her farm. In fact, she just received a notification that there are signs of Asian soybean rust in one of her fields, and she deployed equipment to spray the latest Fox family fungicide. Where in the past Anna may have sprayed her entire operation, with early detection, she decides to spray just the affected field for now and increase her observations of her other fields. By utilizing precision application practices, Anna saves on both input and fuel costs. She's able to use a similar process to control nematodes with enhanced Varango. That features biological components to increase its efficacy. She also uses Planexos, as she's been alerted that they're increasing pest pressures in some of her fields. Through science-based assessments, Anna has been working with agronomic recommendations for her farm to produce with a low carbon footprint and to sequester carbon and to build credits. These practices create revenue streams for Anna and also maintain and accumulate organic matter in the soil, which over time leads to sustained higher yields. Throughout the year, Anna has been generating data with FieldView and reviewing the levels of carbon dioxide emissions per field segment, how much carbon was stored per crop, and the input and yield levels on her farm, and she did this using Procarbono. With her verified and traceable data points, Anna sells her soybean with a valuable low-carbon certification directly to buyers via Procarbono commodities. This allows her to reap the benefits of her choices directly. When Anna prepares to plant her safrinha corn system as part of her next rotation, she'll be confident the Bayer system of solutions will help her make the most of her yield. And they will do this while improving the land she calls home. Per hectare, her farm is sequestering around 1,500 kilograms of carbon, and her soil has 10 times more nutrients as a result of her practices. Increasing yield through precision breeding, crop protection, and digital tools are an important part of regenerative agriculture, because when integrated cropping systems are fully in place and enhanced yield outcomes are realized, there's reduced pressure for growers to expand their farmland at the cost of deforestation. Taken at scale across the major soybean-producing countries of Latin America and the world, regenerative agricultural practices enabled by Bayer are making a huge impact. This is something very exciting to look forward to for Anna and for all of us. From our brief stop in Brazil, I'll hand it back to Frank now for our next Farm of the Future. Thank you.
For our last tour, we travel thousands of miles and reach the world's most populous country, India. In this large and still fast-growing nation, where more than half of the workforce is engaged in agriculture, Rice is the main crop grown on more than 100 million acres to feed the population of 1.4 billion and support experts. We meet Ramesh, a West Bengal-based rice farmer in his mid-30s. As a smallholder farmer, Ramesh cultivates 3 acres or little over a hectare. Ramesh grows rice following in the footsteps of his father. But his father, who grew rice in the traditional transplant method, needed to hire at least 30 people to get his rice transplants into a flooded field in a single day. Ramesh doesn't have that option anymore, as many of the laborers he would have hired have moved to the city centers in search of work. Ramesh also faces a problem that has worsened since his father's time leading the farm. Climate change is impacting India heavily, with severe drought in India becoming the norm. In traditional transplanted rice, his father used 3,000 liters on average to produce 1 kilogram of rice. As Ramesh started his own operation, he knew he had to transform his own rice production to be more efficient while producing more for his community. So how is Ramesh producing more rice with less water and less labor on the same land his father farmed? The answer: direct seeded rice, a practice that helps produce more food with limited water supply. Also, instead of labor-intensive farm work, Ramesh embraces mechanization. Ramesh uses a rice seed drill machine that spreads rice seeds evenly in his farm in just over 2 hours, much faster than a full day. He even has the option to have a drone to do the planting for him, cutting the time down to 30 minutes. Zooming in on his seeds, they are the latest precision-bred Arise hybrid rice seeds designed specifically for direct seeding and leveraging a native trait for herbicide tolerance. For Ramesh's area specifically, it's designed with resistance to bacterial leaf blight and brown plant heifer infestation. His seeds started strong because they are treated with a new biocontrol and chemistry combination to protect the seedlings from rice stem borer in the early stages of the crop, and Evergol for leaf blast in the vegetative state. Having this level of protection early on leads to healthier crops for Ramesh. For weeds, he has a solid combination of solutions with different modes of actions. He uses oxadiazone as pre-emergent before the weeds sprout, counsel during the early to mid-post application, and a next-generation post-emergent herbicide that doesn't affect his herbicide-tolerant rice crop. On sheet blight, a common rice crop disease, he uses the next generation of Bayer fungicide. For seeds and crop protection, Ramesh has everything he needs for a better rice crop. As internet infrastructure has reached a vast part of remote farming communities in India, Ramesh relies heavily on Farm Rice, a digital app with multiple benefits. One, he instantly gets access to agronomic and crop management practices built in with predictive and prescriptive models for timely pest control. Two, he can call for a tractor, seed driller, or drone from a service provider, much like we call an Uber today. Yes, we will have the Uberization in farming. Third, Ramesh can participate in a carbon credit program to get additional incentives for his livelihood. The most important of all, community. With thousands of better life farming centers across India and other smallholder communities around the world, Ramesh is not alone to maximize the output from his small farm. He has a thriving, progressive community right behind him, providing access to inputs, services, and markets. mechanization, digital empowerment, community. This is how the fields of tomorrow will look for Indian farmers and for more than 100 million smallholder farmers globally. Let's look at the overall impact. While direct-seeded rice improves the rice yield of Ramesh, he'll also be able to reduce his production costs by about 16%, reduce greenhouse gas emissions by up to 45%, and water use by up to 40%, or about 5 million liters of water per hectare. Imagine how these numbers would scale up once this shift in growing rice is adopted by millions of smallholder farmers globally. From John, our multi-crop farmer in Illinois, Pablo, our tomato grower in Spain, Anna, our soy and safrinha corn farmer in Brazil, and Ramesh, our rice farmer in India, we get a strong sense of what the future of farming will look like around the world, all using Bayer systems, all producing more food, less impact, and helping to restore the planet. Having seen our vision for the farms of the future, a future we've been creating at Bayer, I hope that you now have a shared appreciation and excitement for the powerful impact we can have in regenerative agriculture. Reiterating what Rodrigo mentioned earlier, we see our accessible markets doubling from the more than 100 billion euro ag input market we serve today to a market valued more than 200 billion in the next decade. These markets are what we also consider ag-adjacent spaces. So what accessible markets are we referring to? First is on crop fertility and biological breakthroughs. This is where nitrogen fixation technologies and biological-based crop protection fit in. Next up is the potential in biofuels. Covercress opens additional revenue streams during the winter from oilseed extraction with a lower carbon intensity score and can be made into renewable fuel. Third, precision application and technology is a big opportunity, opening the possibility of smart partnerships with original equipment manufacturers and retailers. Fourth, Bayer is a leading provider of solution systems that support farmers in reducing carbon emissions and removing carbon from the atmosphere. Our carbon initiatives opens new revenue streams to farmers adopting recommended practices. For our last two, you've seen how our partnership with Microsoft opens opportunities for other industries to come in seamlessly, plus how platforms like Orbia can make the farmer experience similar or even more tailored than online marketplaces we have today. And nearly all the work we will be doing in these spaces is a potential upside to our 30 billion euro peak sales potential. This brings us to our 4 strategic priorities at Bayer Crop Science. First, we look at the foundation, our core markets. Our leading positions and long experience in established markets like corn, soy, and crop protection allow us to enter these new markets in a position of trust and strength. Second priority, clearly define and shape regenerative agriculture and bring it to scale. As we drive our business, our 30-30-100 sustainability commitments by 2030 will manifest naturally. These commitments are 30% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions for our farmers, 30% reduction in environmental impact of crop protection products, and enabling 100 million smallholder farmers globally. In addition, with agriculture using up to 70% of our global freshwater withdrawals, we have our new commitment, helping farmers improve water use per kilogram of rice produced by 25%, also by 2030, driven by our transforming rice cropping systems. We are going beyond sustainability with regenerative agriculture, which focuses on farming for higher productivity, using less resources, and renewing our ecosystems. You've already seen a few examples earlier in our farms of the future. We want farmers to embrace climate-smart choices, and the best way to do that is to make them both easy, convenient, and better for them to adopt. Our third priority is to digitally enable our sales and have full crop systems available to farmers. The future of farming won't rely on a few technologies, but on systems of solutions. In our farms, we saw capability multipliers and digital advisors that find the needles in 1,000 haystacks to make sense of seemingly endless data. That is where data-driven decisions come in, adding value to farmers wanting to be more efficient and productive in their operations. Fourth and last for us is walking the talk, putting commitment in these new markets by investing in them. We invest in the future of agriculture because we know we can build it, and we know it's worth building. We'll invest in the future of regenerative agriculture in these accessible markets, bringing it to scale. With our success, the world will be more like the future farms that Jeremy and I have just shared with you. Based on outcomes they provide, they are worth building as well. The future is all around us today, and I'm proud of the progress we are making, with all of us contributing to help tackle the challenges of climate change and food security through a more regenerative future for agriculture. Next, you are going to see how close we are to that future as Bob Reiter gives you an idea of exactly what his R&D team are working on to support our vision. From myself and Jeremy, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Frank. So similar to my peers, I am so excited to be here in New York City to talk about Bayer's innovation. First, I want to provide a brief setup for you this afternoon with our time together. And what my colleagues and I are about to show you are answers to how our innovations are generating real value added products for farmers around the world. But to do that, we'll take you through a deeper look at the 5 innovation engines that power our pipeline and separate us from the rest. We just spoke about the farms of the future, and we can envision the farms of the future because we're already building them with our bold investments. Bayer invests more than 2.6 billion euros annually in R&D. And with the help of more than 7,700 employees around 130 sites worldwide. The scale and the size of our innovation engine matters. And we're investing at more than twice the level of our peers as an industry leader. And we serve as the technology provider to the industry through our broad licensing approach and through our open innovation framework. We're also the partner of choice for up-and-coming innovators, as evidenced by more than 100 key collaborations. And we further expand our innovation reach through our Leaps by Bayer venture capital arm, which has 18 distinct investments in sustainable productivity and in improved nutrition. These investments translate into an ag pipeline with a peak sales potential of more than 30 billion euros, half of which is incremental to our current sales. And despite numerous launches annually, we continue to replenish our potential value with more than we deplete. And it's no easy task. We reach more than 80% of these peak sales by 2037, And if you break this down into an annual growth rate, it drives the vast majority of our mid to long-term sales growth as a company. And this doesn't consider upside potential from early stage technologies like nitrogen-fixing biological solutions, carbon farming, direct seeded hybrid rice, or the expansion of our biotech traits into markets in Asia and Africa. In fact, the accessible markets Frank just talked about are nearly all upside to our peak sales potential. What it does consider, however, are several blockbusters and critical anchoring technologies that are key drivers for our mid to long-term growth and success. For example, our Preceon Smart Corn system is expected to transform corn production and generate 1.5 billion euros in incremental sales globally, from a combination of both price and share stemming from very high anticipated grower demand. Our fourth and fifth generations of herbicide-tolerant soybeans will provide the most flexibility for weed control for farmers in the industry, creating more than €1 billion incremental sales opportunity in the Americas. And likewise, our third and fourth generations of insect protection in soybeans for Brazil generates upwards of 800 million euros of value. In biologicals, we've set an ambitious target to reach 1.5 billion euros in sales by 2035 from only 200 million today as we build out our open innovation sourcing strategy. Our new phase 3 herbicide molecule, the very first of its kind in more than 30 years, is contributing around 750 million euros in peak sales potential and has significant potential upside if we're able to develop a complementary trait and secure an over-the-top label for its use. And this will be a very nice complement for farmers, together with glyphosate for tough-to-control weeds, and it has an excellent environmental and safety profile. And rounding out our exciting new molecules, we have 2 brand new fungicide molecules that are set to deliver 1.2 billion euros in peak sales, while Plenexis insecticide has 500 million of potential, with a particularly strong fit for smallholders in Asia. Hybrid wheat, while still early stage, builds from our leading varietal share position in the US, and with our RGT partnership in Europe, and it rounds out our list with 700 million in peak sales, with potential to provide for farmers a much more stable and resilient system for wheat production. No one else can really cite such an impressive list, and I'm very proud of the work we're doing to generate real value-added products for the farm and farmers in terms of profitability and sustainability. In 2022, our innovation pipeline saw meaningful progress with 15 advancements of new crop protection active ingredients, new seed traits, and digital models all combined. In addition, we refreshed our seed portfolio with over 500 new hybrid and varietal deployments. Adding to this would be 10 new formulation launches and more than 250 key new registrations. Those aren't just impressive numbers. They're each real innovations that will support growers against the challenges we've been talking to you about today. And it takes all 5 of our innovation platforms, breeding, biotechnology, small molecules, biologicals, and data science to power this pipeline. But it's the convergence of these innovation engines that allows us to generate systems of solutions that unlock the next layer of value and solve our most pressing challenges. You know, we have a very deep history of successfully converting these engines into viable, valuable products for growers. From the more than 65 trait products approved in the last 25 years, to the 15 new actives launched in the past 15 years, or the more than 220 million acres our digital tools reach every year. Everything you're hearing about today is guided by our shared global challenges. These realities set our priorities for R&D, and they shape our innovation pipeline. There's no other way to put it. If the concept does not contribute to regenerative ag outcomes, and it doesn't advance in our pipeline, period. And Bayer is leading the way for each and every farmer to find success now and in the future. We're bringing growers everywhere new tools that build capability into our already best-in-class germplasm and that put the next generation of crop protection on the farms where it's absolutely needed. And we're doing it faster than ever with data-driven decisions at every level. It's all these technologies that unlock the next layer of value in regenerative agriculture. And that's what separates Bayer from others. Growers will overcome the challenges the farms of the future face, and they'll be able to do it with Bayer. After our break, you'll hear from 5 of our key leaders who will share deeper insights into our cutting-edge innovation. We'll show you how precision breeding accelerates genetic gain, transformative technologies and traits enabling regenerative agricultural practices, and new innovations in small molecules using profile-driven discovery to build in safety and sustainability from the earliest parts of the process. We'll also take you through how we're building to support the massive growth we expect in biologicals and demonstrate how digital disruptions will continue to bring value to growers by expanding their roles in the value chain. Thank you for the time and attention, and now we'll have a short break, returning at 2:20 to hear from several of our R&D and sustainability leaders about our 5 innovation engines that power our vision. So thank you.
So welcome back, everybody, from the break. I hope you all enjoyed our first hour of the program today. So now we're going to take you through our 5 innovation platforms: breeding, biotech, small molecule chemistry, biologicals, and data science. So we've got strong competitive advantages in each of these areas, and we're really, really well positioned to bring them all together to create kind of holistic solutions for farmers. Solutions that are going to help them, wherever they are in the world, optimize productivity while conserving and restoring natural resources like water and soil. So, to begin with, I'm going to turn the floor over to Mike Graham, our Global Head of Plant Breeding, to share his insights on this platform. Mike?
Well, thank you, Tom, and it's wonderful to be here today. It's really a pleasure for me to kick off our look at the innovation engines that drive Bayer's long-term growth. I'm Mike Graham, Head of Breeding for Bayer Crop Science. In this first session, we'll look at how we develop and deploy our world-class genetics and product offering in our global seed and trait business. I'll focus on how our innovation investments in bringing tangible benefits to growers and society. Through our global breeding programs, we're driving benefits like increased yield and improving nutritional quality by designing seeds that are more resilient in an ever-changing climate. These are all foundational to driving the benefits of regenerative agriculture by giving farmers the tools to produce more with less. Even better, I'll show you how we're doing it by designing the best seeds for the future before the future gets here. Let's take a look. Our breeding program starts from a position of unmatched scale and strong leadership in the market. With our investments, we are able to drive more than 10 billion euros in annual seed and trait sales that reach 160 million acres globally. We're working to improve the elite Bayer germplasm of our corn, soy, cotton, vegetables, canola, wheat, and rice crops through the use of advanced breeding tools. And we're integrating biotech, gene edit, and native traits to create the next generation of crop offerings with the capabilities that meet the evolving needs of our customers. Whether it is for large operations or smallholder farmers, Bayer is deploying over 500 new unique seed products every year and enabling significant yield advantage against competitor products and across crops. We're building incredible value with this platform, and we're currently managing 65 active biotech and native traits and approximately 140 trait packages across the breeding pipeline. To be able to handle this kind of complexity, we need the help of technology. Each product advanced through the breeding pipeline goes through an average of 140 data science models through commercialization. Breeding is one way we keep up the constant replenishment of our product portfolio, only advancing new hybrids and varieties if their performance exceeds the previous generations. And it is this excellent performance that has led to our leading global seed and trait position in our industry. We currently enjoy the #1 position in global corn and soybean seed and traits, as well as in US cotton seed and traits and US wheat germplasm, and hold a strong #2 global position with our vegetable seeds. Our leadership position is the result of our global germplasm strength and the fact that we have been relentless in building the next generation of innovation capabilities across our pipeline. Whether it's the application of new chipping technologies, field robotics, cutting-edge imaging capabilities, or data science, we have built the most technically enabled breeding platform in the industry. Now let's take a closer look at our largest crop, corn. Bayer's corn germplasm was grown on over 100 million acres in 2022. And we hold the #1 position globally, with leading positions in some of the world's largest markets, like US, Brazil, and Argentina. One of the reasons that we are successful growers is yield. When compared to leading hybrids in like-for-like trait packages, Bayer's top 3 DeKalb hybrids showed more than a 7 bushel per acre yield advantage in the US. And in the annual National Corn Growers Association Yield Performance Contest in the US, Bayer won 20 of the 27 national spots last year. In fact, the top corn grower in that contest was able to see nearly 400 bushels per acre, more than double the national average. We're very proud to see growers really pushing the yield potential of our germplasm to show exactly what is possible. To ensure that growers continue to see high-performing products that are better suited to evolving conditions, we deployed more than 250 new corn hybrids in 2022 and now offer more than 1,500 globally. And this performance doesn't stop with corn. We deployed over 150 new soybean varieties in North America markets, where we now offer more than 850 varieties. We continue to hold the leading position in the soybean seed market in the US and the #2 position in Brazil. And it's our performance that drives our leading position. Over the last 4 years, Roundup Ready Xtend and Xtend Flint soybeans saw a 2.9 bushel per acre advantage over Enlist E3 soybeans. And we're proud to continue to deliver for our soybean growers in North America. Meanwhile, in cotton in the US, we saw a 70 pound of lint per acre advantage for our top Delta pine varieties versus top planted competitor varieties, driving our more than 70% market share in the US. When we talk about providing the world with fiber and doing more with less, that extra yield per acre our top varieties generate means that growers are supplying a cotton equivalent of an additional shirt and a pair of jeans to 33 people. It is important for us to remember that extra yield is not just a number. It can be clothing that we otherwise wouldn't be able to supply without putting more land into production. And in vegetables, which are so important to nutritional, we're delivering great agronomic advantages for farmers, as well as consumer benefits like flavor and color in the more than 90 new varieties and hybrids we deploy annually. We currently sell approximately 2,000 vegetable products in 22 crops across 110 countries. This refresh of higher performing seed is foundational to our value pricing strategies and the gains that we intend to capture in the future. Going back to Pablo, our protected culture tomato farmer in Spain, genetic improvements are critical. He is looking for nematode control for his rootstock and virus resistance for his greenhouse production. Not only is consistent and predictable yield important, but the tomatoes must also maintain the expected firmness and fruit color under the heat stress and potential drought conditions of summer production. Bayer is delivering on those upgrades for him. This robust germplasm pipeline is the foundation of an R&D platform, allowing us to build biotech traits and crop protection solutions on top to provide a complete system opportunity. The thousands of new products that we have in development contribute roughly to 11 billion euros in peak sales potential. This type of refresh investment is critical to support our annual refresh rates across all current key crops and markets, as well as for building opportunities for new crops and new markets. But we are even more excited by the future as we embark on our 4th generation of plant breeding here at Bayer, precision breeding. Precision breeding is a shift that includes advances in many diverse technologies, plus the adoptions of new ones to accelerate the development of new seed products while making them far more tailored to our customers' fields and needs. We're combining our industry-leading germplasm, data science, deep genomic capabilities, field and greenhouse automation with a globally connected ecosystem of field data and insight to develop better solutions faster. And that means we're no longer selecting the most promising seed candidates during development. Now, based on customer and environmental insights, we're designing the next generation of products for specific geographic conditions right from the start. This design-driven approach enables us to identify and develop higher performing products to meet specific needs on an individual farm. Precision breeding begins with a deep understanding of our customer insight and preferences that help us understand what growers feel are the most important characteristics when purchasing seed. Every product that we designed is aligned with customer insight through our unique quantification process, which allows our customers to be at the forefront of each data-driven decision throughout the advancement process. We're not just using these tools to quantify customer preference, but also to combine these insights with economic and agronomic data, weather patterns, disease dynamics, weed trends, and genomic understanding of germplasm to anticipate the desired characteristic for our next generation of products. We then leverage our high-fidelity genomic platform, artificial intelligence, and our industry's leading germplasm to design the next generation of products for our customers. Using facilities like the one that we have in Marana, Arizona, we are then able to dramatically accelerate the breeding cycle. Historically, one breeding cycle takes 5 to 6 years to complete. With precision breeding capabilities, we now expect to be able to complete that cycle in only 4 months, more than doubling the rate of genetic gain by the year 2030. This approach represents one of the most transformational changes in the history of plant breeding. Finally, we're not only thinking about how we design seed, we also want to be more thoughtful about how we test, deploy, and place products with a grower. Over the last 5 years, Bayer Crop Science has invested in building a network of connected sensors and devices across thousands of digital field testing locations around the world. In amassing this real-world data, we have gained a much deeper understanding of our germplasm and product performance under diverse soil and environmental conditions globally, which really helps bring success to our growers' farms. But we are doing much more than that. Given the quantity and the fidelity of this data and the emergence of technologies like large language models, we are now simulating millions of grower environments to test our breeding pipeline of products in an augmented network that includes both real and simulated environments through our digital field testing twin. This means speeding up product development lifecycle, using part of our current testing footprint to test for climate-resilient characteristics such as drought and heat stress, and getting much more prescriptive when recommending a product to specific growers' fields. These capabilities were actually used already last year to ensure the placement of the first generation of Precision hybrids resulted in the appropriate ear height for growers to harvest with their existing equipment. These simulations are making new approaches for evaluating crops feasible, approaches which would have taken multiple growing seasons with traditional field testing. Precision-bred seeds will become an even more important puzzle piece for feeding a growing population while respecting the planet's boundaries. And we will have these processes in place by 2025, accelerating our timelines tremendously. Even better, the acceleration and genetic gains from precision breeding is all upside to our 11 billion euros in peak sales potential from breeding. Precision breeding, however, has more than just acceleration benefits in crops like corn and soybeans. We are also bringing our tools, our libraries, and our experience to transform 2 additional food security crops, wheat and rice. Wheat is a crop of specific importance for global food security, providing 18% of the total available calorie, as the #1 global crop growing in more than 555 million acres. But it lags far behind the technology levels we see in corn, soy, and other major crops. The cereal market today is around 12.5 billion euros between crop protection and seeds, meaning this is a big opportunity for Bayer in both segments, especially when combined with a digitally enabled system that can make the most of the germplasm and the grower's operation. Precision breeding can help us close that gap. Anchored with high-performing hybrid wheat germplasm, we envision a tailored wheat production system with improved nitrogen use efficiency and resistance to disease, drought, and heat, potentially by the end of this decade. We're bringing this vision to life through 2 programs targeting North America and Europe. In Europe, we're working with RGT, the European market leader in varietal wheat. RGT's best-in-class germplasm and rich portfolio of native traits, with Bayer's wide array of R&D assets, leading crop protection portfolio, and seed production know-how, is a hand-in-glove fit. Together, we are looking forward to building hybrid wheat for climate zones of Europe. For the North America market, we are working with our leading West-bred germplasm to build hybrid wheat fit for U.S. growers. In fact, West-bred already accounts for 20% of newly purchased wheat seed in the U.S. One of the biggest benefits we expect from hybrid wheat is higher yield. But just as important is production stability during extreme weather seasons. This market is really a blue ocean, with the potential to drive the value of the market for wheat seed and supporting technologies which we have already seen revolutionize corn, soy, and other mainstay crops. And that's not the only opportunity we see in the near future. Rice, like wheat, is a critical food security crop, a staple food for more than half of the world's population who depend on it as their main source of daily nutrition. Today, it's the 3rd largest crop, reaching 165 million hectares, or more than 400 million acres. And it's a crop that can be greatly improved through next-generation precision breeding and new technologies from Bayer. Today, the majority of rice farmers control weeds by flooding their fields. But this flooding for transplant rice cultivation requires the use of 43% of the world's irrigation. Even more, transplanting rice is extremely labor-intensive. As we saw with our future farmer Ramesh, traditional rice cultivation requires dozens of hired hands working together amidst labor shortages, making that labor even more expensive. We expect to transform rice production through our leadership and expertise in seed and traits, crop protection, and our digital farming solutions. Leading the transition to direct-seeded rice is a crop system approach, delivering a tailored solution to farmers, generating value for our business, and optimizing the environmental footprint of agriculture. Bayer has more than 50 years of experience working with rice farmers in crop protection, providing an effective and integrated weed management system. Through our Arise hybrids, which are 40% of the small but growing direct-seeded market in India, we'll continue to build on our direct-seeded rice share, all while improving our offerings through precision breeding to boost yields. We've also recently entered into an agreement to develop herbicide tolerance in rice, using a native trait, creating the potential for an even more effective system for controlling weeds in direct-seeded rice. Rounding out our direct-seeded rice system is our digital platform, FarmRise, which helps create awareness, educate, and advise farmers to make better agronomic decisions. Through this successful adoption of our recommended direct-seeded rice systems of solutions, we estimate a 16% cost reduction for growers. These savings are expected to come from reduced labor and the elimination of nursery beds. Growers could reduce manual labor by up to 50%, or 150 labor hours per hectare. In addition, there are significant regenerative ag benefits for growers. Direct-seeded rice is also expected to reduce water use by 40%, carbon dioxide emission by 45%, and reduce methane emission by up to 85%. Through broad-scale adoption, this will go a long way to meeting our goal of improving water use per kilo of crop by 25% in 2030 by transforming the rice cropping system. Simply put, direct-seeded rice has the potential to change rice production globally for the better. This transformation is already underway in India, which plants more than 40 million hectares, or roughly 100 million acres of rice today. With our new direct-seeded rice system, we estimate that up to 75% of the acres in the India market could shift to direct-seeded rice by 2040. This will enable a massive opportunity for growers and an upside potential to our current peak sales estimate. In summary, precision breeding is foundational for Bayer's high-performing crops. With customer insights that help us drive winning solutions through our AI-enabled breeding platform, we will continue to build and expand what is possible for farmers and for their crops. That's not only in our core crops like corn, cotton, soybeans, and vegetables, but also in the vastly underserved crops like wheat and rice. You'll hear more about how we protect and build even more capability into our germplasm during the next deep dive into transformative traits with Kelly Gillespie. Thank you very much, and the floor is yours, Kelly.
Well, thank you, Mike. What Breeding Pipeline can bring to life and the speed with which we can develop new products is truly inspiring. And it's no coincidence today that my deep dive will build on Mike's, as our transformative traits build on our leading germplasm and breeding program. That dovetail means that we are able to protect the genetic potential of our high-yielding hybrids while enabling climate-smart practices, difficult-to-manage insect solutions, and flexibility in weed management. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Kelly Gillespie, the Vice President of Digital Ecosystem Services with Bayer Crop Science. I have been working to bring new capabilities to growers through transformative technologies for most of my career. And I'm really excited to talk to you today about all of the benefits that these trait technologies can bring. Bayer Crop Science is the undisputed leader in plant biotechnology. Over the last 27 years, we have launched more than 65 trait products, more than any other company, enabling farmers to grow crops with game-changing capabilities on approximately 300 million acres annually. On those acres, you'll find corn, soybeans, cotton, and canola that have incredible traits built right in, traits that enable regenerative agricultural benefits, reducing the inputs needed to maintain high yield. When a grower has a corn plant with traits that enable it to protect itself from the insects that would cause damage to its ears, leaves, or roots, they don't need to use an insecticide as often. Bayer traits don't just protect yield, they also enable regenerative agricultural practices, transforming what we innovate in our labs into flexibility and options for on-farm success. When growers have herbicide-tolerant crops, they have the flexibility to control weeds without tilling them under, reducing soil compaction and topsoil erosion while improving carbon sequestration. Our herbicide-tolerant crops have enabled no-till and conservation tillage practices by allowing excellent pre-plant and in-season weed control in lieu of deep plowing before planting. The value of the product offerings that we bring to market around the world is well recognized by growers. Because of the combination of these capabilities and our leading germplasm, supporting the greater than 10 billion euros in annual seed and trait sales, which includes 2.6 billion euros from licensing alone. Bayer has the leading trait share of the market globally, and in key broadacre crops like corn, soybeans, and cotton. For example, around 85% of US corn acres, more than 80% of soybean acres in Brazil, and about 70% of US cotton acres contain at least one of our traits. Our leadership position is the result of long-term investments that we've been making successfully for decades. Biotech trait development typically takes 12 to 15 years, starting with trait discovery, moving into early development, stacking of those traits, through the field trials that are required for regulatory submissions and approvals globally. To continue to shorten our timeline and deliver new solutions for our grower customers around the globe, we are focused on 4 distinct technology platforms: gene, protein, RNA, and genome editing. Our approach to gene technology is centered on an industry-leading gene library containing over 300 million unique protein coding genes. We also utilize unique gene expression toolkits, which make it possible to effectively and predictably optimize the expression of those genes, meaning we can accelerate reliable results. We are then able to stack together multiple genes with the largest multi-gene stack available today, enabling the broadest possible options for pest management. Protein technology is responsible for many of the life-sustaining processes in a plant structure, and it's the same for insects as well. But proteins are really complicated, and to date, we have solved more than 300 protein structures. In order to continue to increase our understanding of protein structures, we are using artificial intelligence tools, including machine learning, to better predict protein interactions that we can then design against. The Thrive-On technology in cotton was the first trait to benefit from this technology. We were able to improve the protein expression over 200 times using these approaches. And this has allowed us to create the industry-first cotton trait to target a piercing sucking pest. We're also utilizing RNA technology in the development of next-generation traits, including our recently launched 3rd-generation corn rootworm trait. We've also used RNA technology to shorten the stalk length of short stature corn in our biotech approach to the product, which is currently in phase 3. In this picture shown here, you can see how we've effectively compressed the plant cells of the stalk to shorten the overall length of the stalk. The last of our 4 key technology pillars in this space is genome mapping and editing. To date, we have mapped the genomes of all of our core crops, and we are generating more than 2.7 billion data points annually to provide key insights that benefit both our breeding and our biotech programs. This is a rapidly developing area, and we are well positioned with access to multiple gene editing capabilities that we are using in both our breeding and biotech programs. In biotech, we are using gene editing technology to target the insertion of biotech traits very precisely in the genome. This is to optimize the performance of the trait. As another example of the power of this technology, I would point to covercress. Through the use of multiple gene edits and advanced breeding tools, our partner covercress was able to improve the oil profile, protein content, and yield of pennycress, effectively converting a common weed into a novel cash crop with the potential to serve as a low-carbon, renewable feedstock for the growing biofuels markets. But how does this technology convert into value? Well, these 4 key technologies that I've talked about will enable Bayer to replenish and improve upon our trait offerings and biotech pipeline. We currently see a peak sales potential from our biotech pipeline of over 7 billion euros, with potential upside value from the expansion of traits into new markets in Asia and Africa. With 12 next-generation traits in development, we are ensuring that Bayer's leadership continues to enable growers to outperform the past while responding to the future challenges on their farm. So let's see what this looks like, and we'll start with cotton. Our biotechnology contributions have contributed to measurable improvements in sustainable cotton production. Since the introduction of our first biotech cotton trait in the late 1990s, we have seen a significant improvement in lint yield, a significant reduction in pesticide use, marked reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, soil erosion, land use, and irrigation water use in the US. This is truly a regenerative agriculture success story, largely enabled by biotechnology, allowing farmers more sustainable yield increases and improved profitability. To further enhance both the profitability and sustainability of cotton production, we are pleased to build on the Bollgard 3 XtendFlex technology with the 2023 commercial launch of ThriveOn, a first in the industry for the control of piercing and sucking pests. And this will build on our 70% trait share in the US cotton market. And in phase 3, we have our 4th generation of herbicide tolerance in cotton that, when combined with Bollgard 3 XtendFlex and ThriveOn, will create a 10-stack offering, a technological first in the industry. Products like these clearly show the benefits of Bayer's decades of expertise in biotechnology. And this expertise continues into soybean. Today, we have the #1 position in soybean traits in South America with our Intacta Roundup Ready 2 Pro technology on more than 80% of the acres planted in Brazil alone. For 2021, we launched Intacta 2 Xtend, and for the current season, we're expecting to be on 6 million acres due to the high demand. And that demand stems from a couple of major factors, including an industry first with 3 proteins for insect control and dicamba tolerance for tough-to-control weeds. But what it all comes down to at the end of the day is a significant performance advantage of nearly 3 bushels per acre, building that value for growers. And for the future, we're looking to our current phase 3, 3rd generation insect protection against velvet bean caterpillars as well as soybean looper, 2 pests that devour the leaves. And we're already developing the 4th generation as well that recently advanced to phase 2. Together, these next-generation technologies account for more than 800 million of peak sales potential in this increasingly valuable franchise. Growers need soy solutions focused on weeds as well. And as a part of our pipeline value of over 1 billion euros in herbicide-tolerant traits in soybean, we're expecting to launch the next 2 generations of herbicide-tolerant soybean traits before the first new stack will even be available from our next competitor. With these next generations, we see an opportunity across over 100 million acres of soybean in the Americas and a significant opportunity to recapture trait share in the US. Currently in phase 3 and on track to launch in 2027, our 4th generation soybean herbicide tolerant stack will allow growers to use effective chemistries for their operation, providing options to use up to 5 herbicides over the top of their crop. This will provide the most flexibility in the industry, and we will be the only ones to offer it. Our 5th generation herbicide tolerance has been advanced to phase 3 and will add tolerance to PPO chemistry. When stacked with our prior generations, it will allow the use of up to 6 different herbicides over the top of the crop. This flexibility and efficacy that we expect to be able to deliver with these traits is very exciting, and they will be true wins for growers when they launch. Now, let's move on to our largest crop, corn. Here, we are continuing to roll out the most advanced corn rootworm technology available based on the industry's only RNAi-based corn rootworm control. In Brazil and Argentina, when we launched in 2021, our VT Pro 4 is on more than 4 million acres, providing 3 modes of above-ground insect control and 2 modes of below-ground insect control, including our corn rootworm protection. This is in addition to glyphosate tolerance, making for a package that provides growers many options. We have also launched SmartStax Pro with RNAi technology against rootworms last year in the US, and we're forecasting to be on over 1 million acres this year already. This adoption is driven quickly because growers want this kind of protection. Corn rootworm does some pretty insidious damage to crops because, as the name suggests, this pest damages the roots. It's really hard to see. But root damage means that the inputs that growers use, from water to fertilizer, don't get utilized as effectively, reducing efficiency. And that means lost yield and profitability for farmers. Small changes in rootworm control can have a large impact in the field. In our trials, for a 200 bushel per acre field, a root injury level that we saw with one of our top competitors' products could have resulted in the loss of over 29 bushels per acre. But we are not stopping with our 3rd generation of corn rootworm control. We have a pipeline full of next generation insect control traits in corn with a combined peak sales potential of over 1 billion euros. Our 4th generation of rootworm control is expected mid-decade with the launch of CRW4. Likewise, our 4th generation of lepidopteran control, which targets above-ground pests that bore into the stalks of the plants or eat the ears, is expected later this decade. And believe it or not, our 5th generation of lepidopteran control is expected in early 2030, right on its heels. These next-generation traits help us preserve the value of the previous generations, as resistance can develop if new modes of action are not introduced to sustain these valuable tools for growers. But sometimes we are able to innovate in ways that transform farming altogether. And Bayer is changing the future of agriculture by introducing the Preceon Smart Corn System, featuring our short stature corn hybrids, marking a new era in corn production. With climate change, we are seeing increasingly volatile weather. Wind damage from storms can damage tall conventional height corn, catching it like a sail, causing lodging and green snap, which damages yields. And when corn gets too tall for sprayers to get in the fields later in the seasons, growers either have to forego spraying altogether or fly it on by plane. A traditional corn plant is about 9 to 12 feet tall at maturity, but Bayer's short stature corn hybrids are targeted to be less than 7 feet tall. This shorter plant height allows for more flexible application timing and the ability to use ground equipment for crop inputs like fungicides, insecticides, and nitrogen. And due to that improved plant standability, short stature corn hybrids will allow farmers to explore higher planting densities, providing the potential to produce more on every acre. Combined, these advantages show that the Preceon Smart Corn System is designed to pay farmers back by offering protection from green snap and lodging, access all season long, and yield potential by optimizing inputs, seeding rates, and field placement. As we saw with John, our future farmer in Illinois, short stature corn, the backbone technology of the Preceon Smart Corn System, brings growers critical advantage over tall stature plants. The system, which is optimized by Climate Field View, will help farmers protect their crops, optimize decision-making throughout the season for sustained success. We have already begun our Groundbreakers trials with over 300 farmers across 30,000 acres this season in the US, getting an early view of how the Preceon Smart Corn System can enhance their operation. I am happy to report that we are seeing extremely strong interest in this product. Early responses back from growers' surveys report that more than 75% of our growers would plant a third of their acreage to short stature corn if it were available for their operations today. That kind of enthusiasm for a new product is almost unheard of, and we're very encouraged by the response. We believe in the Preceon Smart Corn System so fully that we are developing it for the global market through 3 different approaches, which we believe will make short stature corn a fit for more than 220 million acres worldwide, enabling a peak sales potential of more than 1.5 billion euros. Bayer's breeding approach to short stature corn is the most advanced in our pipeline, and it will be the first to launch in North America. We are also developing a biotech approach in collaboration with BASF, which is currently in phase 3. We are the only company in this space with a biotech approach, a key to unlocking value by allowing broad-scale integration across our genetic footprint and therefore allowing broad adoption in the Americas. In addition, gene editing approaches for short stature corn hybrids are in discovery with continued development to come. We anticipate the smart corn system will evolve over time to provide even more value to growers. In summary, biotech traits are critical to delivering effective and flexible solutions to protect the yield potential inherent in the seeds in our crops. Our robust pipeline of 12 biotech traits has a peak sales potential of around 7 billion euros, and together with our breeding engine will allow us to build on Bayer's 10.5 billion euros of annual seed and trait sales as we continue to innovate and expand our capabilities in this space. The use of plant biotech is one of the critical ways that we can continue to drive sustainable improvements in agriculture and address the challenges that farmers face, effectively producing more with fewer resources. So next, I'm going to pass the stage to Axel Trautwein, who will tell you about the future of sustainable small molecules, providing yet another means to protect the yields inherent in our top-performing seeds. Axel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kelly. Wonderful to see that once again Bayer's leading the way in innovation. Lots of great new ways for growers to build value for their operations through seeds and traits that make a real difference on farm. I'm Axel Trautwein, Head of Regulatory Science for Bayer Crop Science, and it's a great pleasure for me to talk to you today about Bayer's Small Molecules program for crop protection chemistry, where I've spent most of my career. The challenges that growers face continue to demonstrate clearly to all of us that we must drive flexibility and respond quickly to new pressures in order to continue to feed the Earth's growing population. We aren't speaking about intangible benefits. The tools that we're talking about today directly ensure farmers can feed the world, as crop protection safeguards around 30% of yields worldwide. That's 550 million tons, or the equivalent of food for more than 2 billion people. Bayer is a leader in global crop protection, a position we've earned by innovating for growers' needs. We help farmers manage pests and disease while keeping weeds at bay, driving our leading crop protection portfolio to sales of more than 13 billion euros in 2022. We hold the #1 position in herbicides, the #2 position in fungicides, and the #3 position in insecticides. Our approach to innovation has built and expanded upon brands like Roundup, Fox, Luna, Corvus, and Vallejo. And we've launched 15 small molecule active ingredients over the last 15 years. But we've no intention to rest on our laurels. So to support growers with new solutions, in 2022, we launched 2 new active ingredients via Zivana and Fox Supra. Zivana is a horticulture fungicide that has a new mode of action with high efficacy at very low use rates. Used against downy mildew and late blight fungi, Zivana delivers outstanding protection of grapes for Australian growers already and is set to expand to potatoes and vegetables. And that's a big deal because it's these diseases that, if you leave them untreated, can be responsible for income losses of more than 60%. Zivana clearly outperforms established standards with long-lasting efficacy of 10 to 21 days, allowing longer spray intervals and flexible programs, even under rainy conditions. And it provides an excellent safety profile. With flexible efficacy across multiple geographies and crops, we expect to see Zivana peak sales of more than 200 million euros. In 2022, Bayer pre-launched its new fungicide Fox Supra in Brazil and Paraguay to fight against key soybean diseases like Asian soybean rust, providing growers with an additional new active ingredient called indiflin to defend their harvests. Fox Supra will complement our other broad-spectrum solution, Fox X Pro, in seasonal spray campaigns, helping farmers to achieve high yields in spite of disease pressure, building on our #1 position in soybean fungicides in Brazil. We're forecasting peak sales potential for the Fox family of crop protection of more than 850 million euros, a major blockbuster from Bayer's small molecules program. In addition, we brought 10 new formulations to market, including our Motino Complete and Trivolt herbicides, which were released in 2022. Regenerative agriculture requires that we strive for maximum efficiency so that the plants we're protecting are able to reward us through production. Motino Complete is a grass and broadleaf wheat herbicide for use in types of wheat and barley, including industry-leading residual control on key weed species like annual ryegrass. For cornfields, we know that growers continue to look for any edge they can get over fast-growing and hard-to-kill weeds. Our Trivolt herbicide for corn in the US delivers visibly weed-free, clean fields with residual activity for up to 8 weeks. With Motino and Trivolt, we're delivering what growers need for major crops today while innovating for tomorrow. And this is because we must continue to push crop protection forward to ensure that growers have the tools they need to feed, fuel, and clothe the world. We're highly aware of the importance of the work our customers are doing. And that's why I'm pleased today to share that we advanced 9 new actives in 2022. In a crop protection pipeline with peak sales potential of more than 9 billion euros. And I'd like to highlight a few of those products next. Our innovation continues via Planexos, the first keto-enol insecticide expected to offer both foliar and soil uses, with first launches expected from 2025 onwards. Pending registration and regulatory approvals, we anticipate Planexos to be suitable for application in arable and horticulture crops, including soybeans, cotton, and fruits and vegetables, making for wide use cases and a fit for many operations. Once applied, Planexos diffuses throughout the target plant extremely well, providing high efficacy against key sucking pests like aphids, whiteflies, scales, and mealybugs, while maintaining low dose rates for precise application. Not only will growers be able to use Planexos in soil applications, but they'll also be able to apply it through foliar methods, building flexibility in the grower's arsenal against pest insects. We're currently working to bring standalone products and tailored mixtures of Planexos in order to offer it as a part of tailored solutions for growers in many different cropping systems. Planexos even shows low residue levels for several uses. We expect that Planexos' favorable safety profile will ensure broad flexibility and fit in integrated pest management programs. We'll leverage our considerable expertise to bolster the global trade enablement of Planexos-treated ag products as a part of our product development right from the start. The broad set of uses and flexible application for a highly effective suite of future products means that Planexos offers a peak sales potential of approximately 500 million euros, a blockbuster product, and a game changer for many growers in dire need of effective options to protect their crops. But that's not the only blockbuster we're here to talk to you about today, as we've moved a new fungicide with broad geographical crop and disease scope to phase 3. We're pleased to announce a new broad-spectrum fungicide with global use confirmed in cereals, corn, fruits and vegetables, and upside potential in numerous other crops. Already, this fungicide has shown control of a multitude of diseases and shows a favorable regulatory profile that we see as a fit for multiple markets. This additional proven mode of action will be an excellent fit with Bayer's fungicide portfolio overall, and is expected to strengthen our already strong position. With a global marketability across multiple crops, we see this new fungicide with a peak sales potential of over 1 billion euros. Bayer must continue to develop the solutions that growers will need for ever-present threats such as pests, diseases, and weed pressure. But beyond that, we must find answers to new, shifting challenges like climate change, sustainability, weed resistance, as well as increasing regulatory requirements. Bayer's expertise in designing solutions that are registrable in an increasingly stringent regulatory framework will continue to be a competitive advantage by allowing us to bring lower impact crop protection solutions to growers. To address and overcome these hurdles and reduce the environmental impact of crop protection, there are many levers. These include optimal application timing, drift reduction, precision application, new formulation technology, and better environmental profiles for our active ingredients. Our innovation approach to crop protection is already allowing us to find the newest generation of crop protection solutions like Planexos, but we're pushing beyond established standards to unlock a new benchmark in the industry for designing the next generation of sustainable crop protection solutions. I'm proud to introduce today Bayer's bold demonstration of what is possible with CropKey. CropKey is an entirely new approach to the discovery of crop protection products, which will allow Bayer Crop Science to reach new levels in precision and sustainability while being exceptionally effective. In the past, we often started the discovery process by testing against our leading library of small molecules and looking for what our experience taught us would have potential for crop protection. Then we would test those candidates for different use cases in crops to find out the most safe and effective use for them. With CropKey, instead of selecting molecules, we are designing them. This approach is based on the profile-driven discovery concept, which allows us to create solutions based on predefined safety and sustainability profiles that go above and beyond current standards and that interact in well-defined prescribed pathways. We're creating entirely new crop protection solutions using computational modeling, proprietary algorithms, and multi-omics techniques that take advantage of massive amounts of data and machine learning. These methods simply didn't exist when I started my career in crop protection chemistry. Now we're able to unlock new research fields creating entirely novel crop protection chemistry solutions. In fact, we now have more than 30 potential new molecular targets under investigation and discovery, and we've validated more than 10 targets as new modes of action in early research, all arising from this new CropKey discovery approach. Crop protection solutions can help close the door on weeds, pests, or diseases by binding to a specific target protein within them, with a small molecule acting as a key to lock a protein away from crops. In the virtual environment on the screen behind me, you can see one of the advanced technologies we use to design our CropKey next generation of molecules using 3D structure modeling. On the left, you see a protein critical to the function of a plant disease, a protein that, if blocked, would help prevent disease from impacting the plant. On the right, in the hand of the Bayer scientist, is a crop protection molecule that can do just that by keying into this specific protein. We can even simulate just how well the key fits the protein by going inside the protein, now shown in green, to the active site, and measuring the efficacy of the key molecule's interaction with the target, like you're seeing now. But we also need to make sure that our keys only fit to our target protein, and so we simulate many other proteins as well, building in safety and sustainability very early on in the process. Here in red is a similar but off-target protein is overlaid. Notice that even a small difference in one amino acid can mean that this key or small molecule no longer fits this lock and won't interact. Instead, what we're able to verify is that our molecule is actually clashing with the lock, formerly called the binding pocket, clearly showing that the molecule is not active for this off-target example and demonstrating safety. This is one example of the CropKey approach that will continue to drive our crop protection business. 3D model structure exploration is one way. Additionally, we simulate these interactions for millions of molecules in minutes through in silico predictive tools and models. Now, it's understandable to meet bold new approaches with skepticism. But today, I want to share with you 2 new modes of action designed using this approach that are being brought from conception to reality in record time. First, for fruits and vegetables, we have designed a unique broad-spectrum fungicide with a new mode of action and performance above commercial standards. Now in phase 2, this fungicide shows potential for control of key relevant leaf spot fungi, diseases like botrytis, anthracnosis, and powdery mildew. We're projecting around 200 million euros in peak sales potential for this fungicide. Another product of this approach is our previously announced new herbicide molecule, which is the first new herbicide mode of action for broadacre post-emergent weed control in 30 years. This product has significant potential as a strong complement to glyphosate-based herbicides, and we foresee a peak sales opportunity of more than 750 million euros, which includes new market segments like precision application technology. And if we're successful in developing a herbicide-tolerant biotech trait to pair with this chemistry and securing a related over-the-top label, that would create upside value to this estimate. We're also unlocking with CropKey breakthrough innovation via partnerships and collaborations like Targenomics and EarthBio, allowing us to build larger ecosystems beyond our core competencies and expertise so that we can extend our knowledge and accelerate the delivery of novel crop protection solutions. In Bayer's Pharmaceuticals division, researchers are already working on PROTAC protein degraders to develop new drug products. We want to bring this powerful tool to agriculture. Earlier this year, we announced a new collaboration with EarthBio seeking to develop the next generation of more sustainable crop protection modalities, extending our joint venture with Arvinas to use PROTAC protein degradation technology in agriculture. EarthBio's targeted protein degraders offer the capacity for high-precision product development, low application rates, and paths to overcome biological resistance. PROTACs activate a specific natural process within targets, such as disease organisms or fungi. This narrow scope means that the impact is expected to be tailored and limited to interrupting the specific processes that the molecules work to inhibit. Protein degraders do not delete proteins by themselves, but instead utilize the ubiquitin proteasome system, or in other words, the cellular waste disposal machine, to break them down. And here's how it works. Inside a cell, the PROTAC forms a trimer with a target protein and an E3 ligase, directing the ligase complex to tag the targeted protein with a ubiquitin molecule. Acting repeatedly, a ubiquitin chain is formed, and the proteasome recognizes the target protein and degrades it. Earth's protein degradation technology is the first of its kind in agriculture, and Earth is working in crop protection exclusively with Bayer. When we think of issues that Ramesh, our future farmer in India, was likely to face in labor shortages, we can see a great case for the use of drones to help spray his crops. But growers like Ramesh will only be able to do that in a reliable way based on Bayer's formulation expertise that can make those very low volumes possible while still getting the active ingredients to the target at the appropriate levels and reducing overall consumption of water in alignment with the tenets of regenerative agriculture. As a leader in product design for precision drone application, we already have several key products validated for use in the drone segment in Asia Pacific and look forward to advancing many more novel formulations with good efficacy in the very low volume range. Already today, our crop protection portfolio ranks very well in terms of environmental impact. While we made up approximately 15% of sales in the industry in 2021, our crop protection portfolio only accounted for about 2% of the environmental impact. Even though this is already exceptionally low, we're strongly committed to reducing it even further. Our new innovation approach to crop protection is clearly aligned with Bayer's sustainability commitment to reduce the environmental impact of crop protection products by 30% by 2030, as it will help us to develop ever better crop protection products with the same or better benefits for farmers while having less impact on the environment. We're proud to report that we have already reduced our global crop protection environmental impact by about 14% in the performance tracking period 2017 to 2021. The reduction has mainly been achieved with portfolio changes over recent years. Now, in summary, Bayer products operate as a holistic system, protecting the yield potential of seeds with a leading portfolio that delivered over 13 billion euros in sales in 2022. Modern crop protection chemistry will continue to be a major part of farming for the future, and even more so for the modalities that come from our crop key approach and their inherent advantages. Not only will these advantages help us to serve the needs of farmers and society, but also to reduce the environmental impact of our crop protection products by 30% by 2030. And with that in mind, I'm pleased to introduce our next speaker, Jessica Christiansen, who will be taking you all through Bayer's biological breakthroughs. Thank you all. Floor is yours, Jess.
Thank you, Axel. It's wonderful to see that the future of crop protection is looking so bright with the new crop key approach. It's an absolute pleasure to join you all today here in New York to discuss the progress that Bayer is making in bringing our vision for biologicals to life. I'm Jess Christensen. I'm the head of sustainability and business stewardship for Bayer Crop Science. And if we were standing here just a few years ago, our discussion would look very different. It wasn't long ago that biological options were only thought of as microbials. But the reality is that biological industry is expanding rapidly in many different directions. This includes new kinds of nature-derived biocontrol and biostimulant solutions like pheromone products, botanicals, and plant extracts, and even synthetic biology. Regenerative agriculture is more important than ever, and we expect biologicals to play a significant role. They're exciting because they offer us new solutions, such as bringing nitrogen-fixing microbes to corn, wheat, or rice, or options for biocontrol to minimize residues in integrated pest management systems. Let's take a closer look at why we believe they will be a key tool for advancing the goals of regenerative agriculture. Already around the world, growers have come to understand the advantages of Bayer biologicals in particular. They've named Bayer the #1 most trusted biologicals brand and allowed us to achieve 200 million euros in sales for more than 20 biocontrol and biostimulant products in 2022. That trust in the Bayer brand is built on proven performance from products like Flipper, Acceleron, our Serenade line, and our expanding Vinity product family. Our Flipper foliar pest control product continues to improve grower results in high-value fruit and vegetable crops. It's effective against a broad spectrum of whiteflies, aphids, and mites, all while reducing risk to beneficial insects. Flipper is a natural product derived from a byproduct of extra virgin olive oil and is a strong demonstration of how our open innovation platform can deliver products to growers faster, as we've in-licensed it from Alpha Biocontrol. The Acceleron portfolio is the most advanced seed treatment solution in the industry and is designed to complement, protect, and enhance seeds as soon as they are planted. So when growers use Acceleron Elite on their corn seed, for example, the combination of chemical and biological active ingredients provide broad insect disease and nematode control. This combination of biological and chemistry approaches is a perfect example of how we see the two technologies working together in the future. Moving to our Serenade family of products, which are our leading contributor in biological sales, our opportunities continue to expand. For instance, Serenade ASO offers a unique combination of several modes of action to control foliar and bacterial and fungal diseases, offering growers a way to protect their crops while reducing residues at the same time. And the new Serenade Soil Active has even higher concentration of its active ingredient that can be applied in furrow or via drip to protect the roots. And stronger roots allow plants to improve the uptake of nutrients. We talked a bit about how our Spanish grower Pablo utilized Serenade Soil Active to support strong root development in his tomato crop. And Soil Active is expected to propel the Serenade brands to over 170 million euros in peak net sales in the next 10 years. In crops like potatoes, we're already seeing increased premium quality that translates to marketable benefits. In fact, we've seen about 10% gains in the harvest of premium class potatoes, with better skin finish, improved uniformity, and a higher proportion of bigger potatoes overall. Those are bankable qualities for growers of finished products for produce markets, and they're enabled by Serenade Soil Active. As I said earlier, biologicals are in a rapidly growing space. So fast, in fact, that we expect the overall market for biologicals to grow at a compounded annual growth rate of around 7%, more than doubling in size to 30 billion euros by 2035. Within that rapidly growing market, our expected sales of biological products to grow to more than 1.5 billion euros, a more than sevenfold increase versus our 200 million euro sales baseline in 2022. With our capabilities, open innovation approach, and market reach, we expect to grow our own biological sales with a CAGR of 17%, significantly outgrowing the market over the same period. So let's discuss this open innovation approach and the foundation we have been building to drive this sales growth. In 2020, we began working to shape and grow our role as the preferred R&D development and commercial partner in the biological segment, tapping into the open innovation ecosystem for the short and the long term. Through in-licensing and distribution agreements, we can address immediate needs to connect growers to products. And through our extensive pipeline of development, we support the midterm outlook as well. We are also working with established leading innovators in the space to shape the future of biologicals. Through our strategic partnerships with Ginkgo Bioworks and Chematech, we are working to deliver disruptive products that help us tap into our expanding accessible markets. We are already shaping and growing the biologics segment as the preferred R&D development and commercial partner. Bayer is positioned to build on its trusted brand, establish regulatory prowess, and global commercialization capabilities to bring biological products to market more quickly. This means that partners who would have only been able to impact thousands of growers alone will be able to reach millions of growers with Bayer. One example of the power of this approach is a citrus operation, where a biologically based integrated pest management system allows the grower to maintain their low to no residue operation while maximizing fruit quality and reducing loss to insects. An early success in our open innovation approach is a pheromone product we launched with our partner in Spain called Vinity Citrus. Vinity Citrus is an innovative device, a container with an active liquid inside that does not encourage residues in harvest or the environment. It replicates the mating pheromones of the South African coconut to attract males of the species, who are then killed by the permethrin built into the device. When combined into an integrated pest management system, that includes a chemistry-based crop protection component like Movento and the biological-based Citrol, citrus growers have complementary options that can be utilized precisely for the right pest pressure. And they can understand that pressure and how to optimize the response with timing and application recommendations from the Cropping View digital tool. And we think pheromones like Vinity are going to be a big part of biologicals moving forward. Through our open innovation approach to biologicals, we were able to announce earlier this year a new distribution agreement with French company M2I Group to supply fruit and vegetable growers around the world with pheromone-based crop protection products. Through that agreement, Bayer became the exclusive distributor of select M2I products targeting Lepidoptera pest in crops that include stone and palm fruits like peaches, apples, and pears, as well as 2 other high-value crops, tomatoes and grapes. M2I's products will continue to build on Bayer's Vinity line by adding these new biomimicry-based pest controls, reducing insect damage through innovation, and the integration across product portfolios. On longer-term products, we're working closely with 2 strategic partners, Chemotech and Ginkgo Bioworks. These multi-year partners complement each other well. Ginkgo Bioworks is working with Bayer to bring synthetic biology to agriculture with a focus on nitrogen fixation and next-generation crop protection. Chemotech is our partner in nature-derived crop protection and biostimulants, and a leader in biologicals research. With these partners, we believe Bayer will be able to develop a proprietary portfolio of next-generation biologicals, and we look forward to the long-term growth drivers we expect this work to deliver. Nitrogen fixing technology is one of the most exciting areas we are working on with Ginkgo and has the potential to create tremendous value. So plants need nitrogen to grow to their full potential, and fortunately, it's all around us. So in the last breath we all took, about 78% of that was nitrogen. Unfortunately, though, while plants are surrounded by an ocean of atmospheric nitrogen, crops like corn and wheat need it fixed into forms they can use to grow, like nitrogen fertilizer. So today we know that synthetic nitrogen fertilizer has increased global agricultural production by the equivalent of food for over 3.5 billion people. But fertilizing our crops to feed the world in this manner has come at a high environmental cost. This process of creating synthetic nitrogen fertilizer accounts for roughly 3% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Put simply, the future of plant fertility must look different than it does today if we're going to make agriculture more sustainable and reduce its environmental impact. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria offer a potential path forward by reducing the need for carbon-intensive synthetic fertilizers while maintaining global food production capacities, so the best of both worlds. This is where bioengineering and biological solutions come into play. We are working closely with Ginkgo Bioworks to bring nitrogen-fixing bacteria into reality with synthetic biology. And I'd like to let their CEO, Jason Kelly, explain our work.
There are certain crops, like soybeans, that you don't need to add much fertilizer to. Why? Well, on their roots are microbes running Haber-Bosch, literally pulling nitrogen out of the air and producing fertilizer for the crop for free, okay? And those microbes, they just didn't happen to evolve to be on corn, wheat, or rice, which those 3 crops alone are half of global fertilizer usage. Just didn't happen. And so this is a great opportunity for synthetic biology. We can go look at the genome of the microbe on the soy, read the DNA code, find the part of it that says, hey, here's how you run Haber-Bosch, here's how you produce fertilizer, go on the computer, redesign it, hit print, and then install that code into microbes that live on the roots of corn, for example, and give them that ability to produce fertilizer for the crop. That's the project we've been working on with Bayer through Join Bio. I think the biotechnology of programming cells will be essential to the response to climate change because biology figured this out. It makes stuff out of the components in the air. When a leaf falls off the tree, it is magically recycled back into subcomponents. This is how we should make everything. We should grow everything. It's the only way out of this when it comes to the material infrastructure we need to survive.
Absolutely amazing. We believe that synthetic biology is the key to unlocking nitrogen fixation at scale. And as Bob mentioned in his segment, this technology presents a major upside potential. To summarize what I've shared today, biologicals is a fast-growing market, and we expect to outgrow it with our 1.5 billion euro sales ambition by 2035. With our open innovation platform and existing portfolio, we are well positioned to bring the growing promise of biological products to farmers worldwide. But more than any other company, Bayer can support growers with a full suite of solutions, combining seeds, traits, digital tools, and complementary crop protection. This integrated approach is the optimal use case for biologicals for growers around the globe. When paired with breakthrough opportunities like nitrogen fixation, the future is bright for biologicals by Bayer. Thanks for allowing me to share that excitement with you today. And with that, I will pass it over to my colleague, Tom Eickhoff, who will be talking to you about the new frontiers in digital tools in carbon farming. Tom?
Well, thank you, Jess. Biologicals are a technology poised to really change agriculture, and I'm looking forward to seeing some new alternatives for growers. I'm Tom Eickhoff, Head of Science for Digital Farming, and like all farmers, have been working to understand and harness the power of farm data my entire life. Digital tools and data have been transforming agriculture for my entire career, and I've seen the early promise of digital transformation when we brought analytics and software into the labs and greenhouses. There it helped us find genetic markers hidden among millions of bytes of data, allowing us to dramatically accelerate the development of new hybrids and traits, as Mike mentioned at the start. And I've seen the launch of effective technologies on farm like FieldView, where we develop new ways for growers to make decisions based upon their own data beyond what the eye can see. And the great thing about these is these revolutions are ongoing. As Axel mentioned in small molecules and Mike talked about in breeding, the science of digital is developing new ways to discern patterns out of mountains of data. And we never stop innovating with FieldView or any of the many other digital offerings that I'll tell you about today. But there's a new frontier that's being explored right now, and that is what is really exciting. What started in the labs as a tool to build best-in-class seeds and traits and then grew to the farm where it's providing actionable insights is now being transformed again, going beyond the farm and into the value chain. And growers, consumers, the environment, and the companies that enable that transformation are really going to be the big winners. The Bayer portfolio combines digital insights to become more effective than when used alone, driving franchise value across our products. Our platforms like FieldView help drive return through their digital insights to deliver benefits to growers. And our value chain solutions that we'll talk about today, including Foreground, Orbia, and our partnership with Microsoft, deliver downstream value and platform value as well. In short, digital continues to be a value driver for Bayer, and we're confident in how we're approaching digital that will drive value for growers and for Bayer as well. Now, it used to be pretty surprising when I'd tell audience some of the most tech-savvy people I knew were farmers. But growers continue to develop as fast as their industry, enabled by digital tools to make better data-driven decisions. It's commonplace today to see iPads in the cabs throughout the season, and that's a wonderful thing because it means we're providing real value to digital users, especially FieldView users. In fact, Bayer's industry-leading Climate FieldView platform of digital tools now reaches more than 220 million subscribed acres. That goes across 23 countries, and with the addition of Australia last year, FieldView is now available in 5 continents. And even in spite of increasing competition, FieldView has continued to earn the distinction of being the #1 brand in digital agriculture. What many don't realize about Bayer is that over the many seasons and extensive testing in which we are developing all of the seeds and traits and crop protection products, we're also collecting massive amounts of data on the crop performance and all of the factors that drive it. Our data sources include over 8,000 digital field trials annually, unique sites that provide a wealth of information on different geographies, weather systems, water amounts, and the seasonal changes that consistently provide new information for us to implement in our data sets. In addition, we have 62 million hours of on-farm data, including planting, spraying, and harvest data. And making all of that data really click on farm is exactly how these tools help our growers like Anna, our soybean grower from Brazil. On Anna's farm, for example, we could use data and platforms to recommend planting densities that her fields can support, with recommendations tailored down to the very square meter of her fields. Insights like those translate to real added franchise value, both for the grower and for Bayer. We found that US FieldView customers have a higher retention rate, a higher net promoter score, and plant at higher seeding rates than non-FieldView users. That means we can help them identify opportunities that are meaningful to their farms. Growers are more likely to stay with Bayer products, tell their friends about us, and use more of our products to support their profitability, effectively increasing our share on the farm. So we're confident because we see in our own operations the quality of data and what that data can do for us. But we need to help growers be as confident as we are. Farming can be very hard to predict, and growers are very practical decision makers. So if we can help them try something new with less perceived risk, then we absolutely want to do that. Farmers routinely conduct side-by-side test plots annually to decide which products they want to purchase the next year. We found that our FieldView data-driven recommendations could accurately predict the winning products more often than when a farmer chooses them alone, and we want to help them find the winning Bayer products. Our digital tools enable new business models with risk-sharing opportunities to encourage broader scale adoption of our products. We have seen farmer success in Brazil with increased planting density as well as fungicide use, and now we're expanding to North America, where we're challenging growers and dealers to use FieldView's hybrid selection and tailored recommendations to manage their crop throughout the season. Farmers will plant our recommendation right next to a competitor's product, and if it doesn't beat the competition, we'll pay a performance warranty. We're confident in our products and the value they deliver on the farm through our digital platform, and most importantly, this creates exceptional end-to-end experience for our customers. In the future, we can use programs like this to encourage growers to not only use FieldView, but to check out our Preceon Smart Corn system. The digital component of the Preceon system will help farmers to achieve the optimal outcome with the combination of our years of testing the system and the grower's ability to share the unique attributes of their fields in FieldView. Combining these approaches mean we can partner to create the optimal placement and seeding rate recommendations digitally. As a value add for the Preceon system, digital tools can help make recommendations for precise late season crop protection applications to take advantage of that enhanced sprayer access offered by short stature corn. With that data at their fingertips and processed by our FieldView platform, growers will be able to understand how to most effectively utilize this new corn product without feeling like they're starting all over again. And they'll be getting increased value from using the Bayer system of solutions. So as you've seen so far, the digital revolution is well underway on the farm. But we see opportunities to create new value pools by expanding digital transformation further into the value chain of regenerative agriculture practices. Regenerative agriculture is a top-to-bottom approach at Bayer, and we've shown that today how this focus is woven throughout our R&D platforms. Digital farming truly enables this to be possible. Digital farming is helping farmers understand how regenerative ag practices can not only be adopted, but how they can be economical. And consumers increasingly demand that their foods, fuels, and fibers be grown more sustainably. Consumers want real, traceable, and data-backed evidence that their choices are a way to support the environment and work against climate change. And this is where digital farming is going to be extraordinarily impactful. By ensuring the hard work growers do to make agriculture more sustainable is actually reflected in the value chain. Bayer is already at the forefront of regenerative agriculture, and we have set a target of net zero greenhouse gas emissions, including our entire value chain by 2050. But we've further challenged ourselves to shape agriculture for the better with a commitment to a 30% reduction of field greenhouse gas emission by 2030. By doing so, we're challenging Bayer Crop Science to deliver more to the ag industry. We're also offering all of the necessary technology to manage carbon. We've built upon our seeds, traits, and crop protection and digital solutions portfolios to add cost-efficient monitoring, verification, and certification according to internationally recognized standards and conducted through partnerships throughout the industry. But the key difference in our approach is that we believe a scalable method needs to be easy for farmers. So in 2022, Bayer enhanced the value proposition to growers in the United States with the launch of Foreground by Bayer. This unique regenerative ag platform is focused on transforming how farmers and companies collaborate by offering tools, resources, and discounts to expand the adoption of climate-smart practices that help decarbonize value chains. Underpinned by Climate FieldView platform, which provides cutting-edge digital tools to help farmers more easily collect, store, and view field data, Foreground by Bayer is working with more than 10 different companies in many different areas. We also announced a collaboration with Purdue Agribusiness on a regenerative farming program to help reduce carbon emissions and create a model for a more sustainable food value chain across the Purdue grain network. As a part of the new revenue opportunities, Purdue grain farmers may be compensated for adopting regenerative practices, allowing Purdue to decarbonize their supply chain. Additionally, Bayer is seeking to create innovative carbon removal units for farmers in the US. Those units will be available for purchase on Nori blockchain-enabled marketplaces. The Bayer carbon platform is based on paying farmers for validated practice adoption, like cover cropping and no-till or strip-till. This digital monitoring, reporting, and verification solution builds on Bayer's industry-leading digital farming platform, FieldView. The quality of the machine-generated data from our FieldView drive, in combination with no and low-touch data collection, will be absolutely key for the compilation of carbon practice data. The Foreground platform hosts the Bayer Carbon Program, launched in 2020. And since its inception, our carbon program has grown to encompass over 2,600 participants, over 1.5 million acres, and in 10 countries. The Bayer Carbon Program is a long-term program, providing annual incentives to FieldView users for verified and validated climate-smart farming practices, like no-till farming or cover cropping. Growers can access new revenue streams for practicing regenerative agriculture. With the combination of Climate FieldView, we believe that Foreground provides us an unmatched solution across the industry. Moreover, the carbon program positions Bayer well in the growing carbon market, a market that is expected to be a more than 200 billion euro a year industry. Particularly, Bayer expects revenue from value sharing of these carbon assets, created and from incremental sales of products that can reduce carbon intensity. We expect to see the first carbon assets in North America this year. In LATAM, Bayer is also enhancing the value of partnerships by building scientific knowledge for the creation of a carbon ecosystem in agriculture. Like in North America, this market of these regenerative agriculture practices are supported by our traits, like Intacta Roundup Ready 2 Pro and Intacta 2 Extend, which reduce insecticide use and support no-till to conserve topsoil and carbon. Combining these practices with Pro Carbono, a Bayer carbon initiative, gives growers like Brazilian future farmer Anna a way to develop a revenue stream for their farm while also practicing regenerative agriculture. As we also saw with Anna, in meeting her yield goals with her current farmland, she didn't need to expand her operation further, preventing deforestation of the surrounding rainforest. We established a scientific collaboration with Embrapa, affiliated with the Brazilian Ministry of Agriculture. And through this, we found that soybean growers enrolled in Pro Carbono in Brazil realized a carbon footprint of 70% lower when compared to the average in Brazil. This makes tangible the key role of the adoption of regenerative agriculture practices and is only the beginning of what we can achieve. Orbia is another way that growers can efficiently connect their daily operations to the various players in the ag sector to expand their market access. Started as a joint venture between Bayer, Bravium, and Yara in 2019, Orbia grew from its initial market of Brazil and has now expanded to Colombia, Mexico, and Argentina. Orbia has become Brazil's main agriculture marketplace. Not main digital marketplace, but its main agricultural marketplace, full stop. The platform provides integrated benefits for users through a loyalty program, but also enables online purchases and sales of agriculture inputs and commodities. When you combine Orbia with FieldView, you have a full digital ecosystem that allows a grower to search and buy commodities from around 300 participating suppliers via Orbia. And then, with data-driven recommendations from FieldView, growers can optimize their input use, harvest the crop with data points taken at every step to help plan for the following year, and then sell their commodities on the open market. Even better, participants in the Pro Carbono program can receive additional rewards. These can be used to purchase inputs as part of the Impulso loyalty program built into Orbia. The Orbia platform is meant for all growers and has become the largest loyalty program in Brazilian agribusiness, with over 270,000 growers across LATAM. More impressively, Orbia users in Brazil cover about 75% of the planted acres. Agriculture is a very complex industry. While we've all spent the last 20+ years figuring out ways to create and formalize data, we can surely say that we are now in the age of digitization, where creating useful data is the real name of the game. One of the main obstacles for useful data is interoperability. The other is the investment it takes to create unique digital tools. We're working with Microsoft to attack both of those issues, resulting in the March announcement of the Azure Data Manager for Ag, or ADMA. ADMA will deliver the world's largest connection point of agriculture data and services that drive interoperability and advances the transparency across ag value chains. This partnership capitalizes on our company's strengths. Microsoft is the global pure-play technology leader with experience launching cloud solutions across industries and scaling those technologies globally through a common digital infrastructure. Bayer brings decades of agriculture experience, ready-made capabilities, and best-in-class agronomic modeling. And over the last 10 to 15 years, we've learned how to successfully aggregate massive amounts of data from the field and combine it with public data sets like weather, acquired data sets like satellite imagery, and decades of rich internal data coming from our research and market development efforts. With all of this combined, we can build models that can be applied broadly across food and agriculture, and offer this through our ag-powered services. Similar to how we license out other technology, like biotech traits found in seed, we can do the same with new digital products via ag-powered services. This will accelerate the industry advancement because innovators can spend their time and money on innovation instead of building solutions from scratch. This also creates upside for Bayer by leveraging our past investment to generate new revenue. The customer needs for ag-centric enterprise cloud offerings are varied, but in general, they want three things: to be able to plan, track, and standardization of reliable data. With direct benefits for companies like food processors that want to optimize their internal capacity, to indirect benefits for consumers who want to understand how their products were produced, we are supporting an ecosystem driving value across the industry. And Bayer is committed to setting the new standard for the industry in data-driven digital innovation. And we're excited about the interest we've received thus far across the industry. We all recognize the opportunities that can be created across the ag value chain. In summary, digital tools continue to expand the value chain. For growers with new revenue streams, and for Bayer platforms that enable data-driven decisions and connect growers with value. We're building on that value with markets and platforms that support regenerative agriculture by connecting growers to the value chain. And we're driving digital solutions to optimize the performance of our products while empowering the digital transformation through the value chain and industry. Within the last few years, we've already seen the previous generations of digital agriculture mature. And now we're looking towards the next generation of digital advancements, where we look forward to applying everything that we've learned over the last decade and scaling with strategic partners. Thanks for allowing me to share our vision for the future of digital agriculture, and I'm going to hand it back over to Tom for some housekeeping. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much indeed. So we are going to take a short break at this point in time, a 20-minute break for you all to take a refreshment outside, and then we'll come back into the room for the Q&A session. So 20-minute break and then a Q&A session with our speakers. So thanks very much. Great. So thank you very much indeed, everybody, for being back promptly. And at this point in time, I'm actually going to start asking our ELT speakers, our leadership team speakers, to come up on stage and join me. So please, Rodrigo Santos, come on up. Jeremy Williams, Bob Reiter, and then Frank Terhorst. I have here a microphone for you, Frank.
Cold.
A little easier to do this one. Perfect. Okay, great. So thank you. I'll just move back to the other side of the stage here. So we're happy to take any questions in the room. You've obviously been able to see a lot of content today. I would just say, we're going to ask you please to keep the questions focused on what you've seen really in the conversations we've been having today around sustainable agriculture, about regenerative agriculture, our innovation pipeline, and the opportunity and potential that has. We've got a microphone in the room, so for those of you that want to ask a question, please just raise your hand, tell us your name, the medium that you work for, and I'll also be accepting questions here from those of you that are joining us online. So please, you can use the question tool in the online session. Again, if you please submit your name and the medium that you work for in that, I'll be able to read it out. We have 45 minutes for our Q&A session, so we're looking forward to taking any questions that you might have. And I think I've actually got one here that I will start with from the chat to kick us off. Question from Christoph Leisinger, who's with the Neue Zürcher Zeitung in Switzerland. He's saying technological progress, breeding, cultivation methods, crop protection, nutrition, all of these things have played a major role in enabling global food production to keep pace with the growth of the world's population over the same area, using the same amount of land. But what is the likelihood that this will continue to be the case in future? And what are the most important factors in allowing that to happen? And what about the supply of fertilizers, particularly phosphate and soil quality? So quite a lot in there, but maybe Bob.
You want me to start? I'll start.
Give a start and
then
see where else you want to go with it.
Frank, Rodrigo can jump in. So first of all, I'm actually quite confident that we can continue to grow more and be able to achieve what we need to do in terms of food production, despite even loss of the land, as Rodrigo pointed out earlier. Why and how? It's fundamental for me is so long as we allow innovation to get to the farm, right? So if we can bring all these kinds of technologies that we've shared today and get those to the farm and farmers are able to use them, then we will be able to produce enough food with an equal or smaller footprint. I think that's the foundational thing. Yeah. Why is that? It's because our science knowledge continues to advance. Our understanding of biology is much greater than it was 50 years ago. And our understanding of things like how to design next generation chemistries is far greater than it was many years ago. So, while the demand is increasing, I think the science behind it is accelerating at a pace to keep pace with that. But of course, at the end of the day, if it can't get to the farm and can't be used by a farmer, then it will become a challenge for us. I don't know what others can add.
And if you think about what we've done in the 50s and 60s, we essentially, as part of the Green Revolution, dramatically increased yields by adopting semi-dwarf varieties, right, for wheat and rice. We've actually done something similar with corn, but is not as well recognized that as we went from open pollinated varieties to the current hybrids we have, and then adopted biotechnology and better agronomic practices, we've actually been able to produce far more on essentially less land So I completely agree with Bob. This is a question of being able to use, all of the technology, and then we could direct it to essentially shrinking the footprint of land that we use if this is what we chose to do as a society.
Great.
Yeah, maybe the other aspect to it, there is innovation and technologies, advanced in biological life sciences on the one hand side, and then of course you could still ask, but if the farmers now adapt all that, who's going to pay for this? Is there somebody paying a premium for this? And I think what's different to maybe 5, certainly 10 years ago is that on the other side, we have very strong commitments of states for decarbonization. We have very strong commitments of food companies of scope 3 decarbonization. So I think, and that is new, and I think that will drive also incentivation for farmers to adopt these regenerative practices and bringing this all together. So again, for me, it's both now coming together at this point in time that will also create, I think, that environment so that the solutions we have then also will be adapted actually in reality.
Great. Thanks a lot, Frank. And maybe as we're waiting for questions coming in, or as you're formulating questions here in the room, maybe I just kind of take 2 steps back and give us one to kind of kick us off a little bit, right? I mean, we've seen a lot today. We've seen a lot in our presentations. We've seen a lot in the deep dives. Maybe if Rodrigo, you were pressed to kind of formulate some of the key thoughts for folks. What's new and different in what we've shared today from your perspective?
Well, I don't know. I think we deep dive a lot, right? So a lot of information, a lot of technology for you guys. You just made me remember. I'll tell you a very, very simple story, and it's a true story. I was a very young boy when I got passionate about agriculture, and this was the year that my grandfather, he was growing corn. Very small farmer, he's a smallholder, and that season was really, really bad. He harvested really bad corn. And this was close to the city that I was born, and I was with him under a major tree that we had on that small farm. And I was talking to my grandfather, and he said, don't worry, because I got a little bit, I was harvesting, handily harvesting, by the way. And he was saying, technology will solve that. This was my grandfather probably 30 plus years ago. So it's very interesting, the convergence that we have today. When you think about some of the climate challenges that we have and some of the challenges that we have, because it's easy to say here, well, we need to increase food and feed production by 50% in less land, 20% less land today. Those are numbers, but just think a little bit about that one. What is the challenge that we have? But the beauty, and what I think is a reinforcement from what you heard from Bob, Jeremy, and Frank here, is that what is new for us is that the beauty of science and innovation really driving that one, right? And the conversions of that. So how digital transformations impact our sector, agriculture, how all this innovation combined helping the farmers to produce more and using less or restoring more. So that's amazing. What I think is one element that I feel is that in the past, like the green revolution that Jeremy mentioned, normally you would leave this room saying, well, this is the one technology that will make all the difference, or this is the new revolution. What you saw today, I hope that you leave with this message. There is a lot of technologies, and the combination of that, and digital transformation is a great enabler of that. That combination of all these technologies helping the farmers, that is really what will make the difference for the future. It's not about anymore one product, but the system and how we bring the system together to help the farmers with the outputs they look. So that's a little bit of my recollection with my grandfather and the situation that we're living today.
Great perspective. Thanks, Rodrigo. Please, Sarah, we have a microphone here from Simone.
Thank you. Sarah White with AgriPulse. I have a couple of questions, but I'll start with one that's perhaps more far-reaching, and that is that farmers have, at least in some of our surveys and research, have indicated that the value of what they think they should be paid for carbon sequestration is much higher than what they are currently able to see in the marketplace. It's more around $45, $50 an acre versus $9, $10. Could you comment more broadly on just where you see that market going, and secondarily, along that line, how we might build more transparency into these emerging markets? So that's question number one.
You want to do the next one?
Okay.
You want to go, Jeremy, and
Jeremy, you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We believe, we're convinced that ultimately the true value of sequestering carbon needs to be fully reflected in the value and the price for carbon, and we still have a way to go to get there. But we have no doubt that given the impact of agriculture, by some estimates, 25% of the greenhouse gas emissions are associated with agriculture. If you're going to stay on that 1.5 degree trajectory that has been told to us as being where you would avoid some of the most significant climate changes, you need to help agriculture be a net reducer of carbon, right? And so I have no doubt over time the market value for carbon sequestration will be more reflective of that societal value, but we're not there today. So what are we doing? We are focused on ensuring that we can help farmers as they adopt these practices minimize the cost and friction to adopting the practice and realize other benefits like additional yield and other benefits of adopting the practices, because the reality is they're not being fully compensated from just a carbon sequestration today. But as you heard earlier, there are long-term benefits to increasing the water holding capacity of your soil, the amount of carbon that's in the soil, the quality of the microbiome, and you see these benefits in terms of your productivity. And so our focus is helping farmers get over that hump so they can see these benefits, and then over time they're going to realize more of the actual carbon sequestration value. But we think separate from that, this is a good thing no matter what, for us as a society and for agricultural producers.
I think the thing I'd add also is there are a lot of companies that have made scope 1, 2, and 3 commitments, a lot of them with dates like 2030. And I feel that there's a lot of acceleration of the need to be able to then start actually having those carbon offsets. And that's going to create more economic stimulus, and I think we're going to see some shifts. But it's still, there's still a journey involved here in how that will all play out. But they're going to go up. It's inevitable.
And Sarah, if you allow me just to make one comment about your second component here. So first of all, this is a market that we are developing. Well, we are trying to help develop and connect those companies to the farmers. Is still a lot to go. One of the elements is the transparency, right? So the one thing that you need to avoid is any greenwashing kind of a approach on this one, especially when we're working on ag. And that's what I think the digital component is really important, to give that transparency. Of course, we are also working with the standards that we have today in terms of measure, report, and verify to make sure that you have really the credits of the carbon on the farmers. And we are working with the standards that are established today, but also how can we improve those standards? How can we make more cost-effective for the farmers on that one as well? So there's a lot to develop on that area. But for us, what is very important, we're bringing digital to make sure that we have very transparent information available for anyone. So my view is that if a company is buying a carbon credit from the farmer, it's easy to see everything that the farmer is doing through that digital platform. But that's a very important element of this equation.
Great. So Sarah, let's take your second question.
So early on, I understood that there were some challenges with yield with cover crops, and it sounds like you've made improvements in that way, but there was also some geographical challenges, so that there were only certain growing zones where it was really working well. Tell me how that has changed and what growers could expect in terms of yield and geography right now.
Yeah, so I'm not going to give you full specifics because I don't know the answer. I'll just be candid. Because CoverCress is a company that actually we helped to start, and it's still today we're operating it as an independent entity together with Bunge and Chevron, where we have co-ownership of the company. What they have solved is they solved the following problems. Number one is they've domesticated a weed. So they've done that, right? Started to turn it into a crop, which primarily means, you know, you're starting to get consistency of yield, you're getting uniformity. They needed to make it earlier, so it needs to mature earlier, so it fits in the rotation between corn and soy. That's a big thing, a big step forward that they've worked on and continue to work on. And then there are elements of the oil and protein profile that they've corrected through gene editing, and those are the major improvements. Now, breeding progress never stops. And so there's a big emphasis now, of course, on you want to make it more, you've solved kind of the macro problems, now you want to really drive the productivity of the crop further, in particular, you know, if it's going to be used as an aviation fuel feedstock. So that work will continue to progress, and with our help now, because Mike Graham's team is, now that CoverCress is partially owned by us, we're able to harness some of our technical capabilities, feed that into the CoverCress team, and harness that and use that to help the breeding programs advance. The geographic distribution, that's just something we can evolve over time. It's no, you know, I'll tell you, I like to tell stories like he does too. I'm Canadian. When I grew up, there were no soybeans and there was no corn being grown where I grew up, okay? Now soybeans is one of the, it's competing heavily with canola as the oilseed crop for an acre in Manitoba. So these things are all, they're all solvable. They just will take time and effort. And of course, we want to get the crop established where it is adapted in the Midwest, but we will expand it over time as the opportunity grows. And we can technically do that.
Great. I have another question here from this gentleman.
Thank you. Greg Horschmeyer, DTN. Kind of a related question for the group in terms of sort of short-statured corn. How do you see that growing into the portfolio? When will it be 10%, 25%, 50% of the portfolio? And how does that break out regionally based upon how it's moving forward now? Is it easier to put into a 90-day hybrid versus a 125-day hybrid?
Yeah, so part of the journey for short-stature corn will be the technologies that we're using to develop and deploy it. So initially, right, this year with Groundbreakers, and as we launch commercially next year, it's based on our breeding trait effort. There are some limitations on how far we can go in terms of our germplasm fit using that basis of technology to develop short-stature corn. So we will be somewhat limited over the next 3-4 years in terms of the deployment of products. It'll probably stay, for the most part, in the Central Corn Belt. We'll be pushing out on the edges with that platform, but we're not going to have a full portfolio. The real goal is once we get onto the biotech version starting around 27, then we will push to deploy it everywhere. And I would say there's a fit on every acre. The features that Kelly talked about earlier in terms of what are the different features that it provides, the mix of the value of those features will be different depending on where a grower exists. So, if you're out in Nebraska and you've got green snap as a risk all the time, that standability feature is going to be really a high value one for you. If you're in the eastern part of the US, you may have more value placed on the opportunity to get in late season because you're probably using fungicides a lot more. So we see deployment broadly. Once we get to the biotech version, that's where we really intend to push this onto as many acres as we believe the crop can fit, which we think is all of them, theoretically.
Great, thanks, Bob. Do you have any more questions in the room? If I'm missing a hand, gentlemen, please. Microphone's coming to you.
Hi, my name is Kenji Asada. I'm from Japan, Japanese newspaper Nikkei. Sorry, I'm not a specialist of agriculture, so this is a very basic question. But I Yeah, I love the concept of the regenerative agriculture, but I wonder, and you said that I want to talking about the rice field thing in India.
Yeah.
You want to reduce water,
Yeah.
and you commit to reduce water consumption 25%.
Yes.
But yeah, Japan has also the rice field, water field, but the water field has a lot of function in the nature, in the ecosystem of the land. If you change the water field to the direct seeded rice, so it will change the landscape, and so reducing water is a very good concept, but in the big picture, what is the impact to the, for example, the function to prevent floods, or function to get the temperature lower, or so. So I want to know the water consumption and the relation, the impact to the whole environment.
No.
Environment.
It's a great question. A great question.
You want me to start?
Yes, please, Bobby.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So you're raising an important question, which is, it's more of a question of like ecosystems, right? And agriculture is one kind of ecosystem. You know, I'm a believer in the value of, the reality is agriculture is an artificial ecosystem that man created to produce food. So it's already been altered, right? And I believe that the best opportunities we have to protect biodiversity and the other ecosystems that we value as humans or as a planet are by keeping that agricultural footprint as small as possible and with as minimal impact as possible. I can't answer your question directly about, you know, if we use water differently, what does that mean maybe for other ecosystems that surround the agricultural ecosystem of rice production? I think we have to be thoughtful about those kinds of questions. But I do believe fundamentally that an ecosystem of agriculture that uses so much water and a system that is also producing so much greenhouse gas in the way we produce rice probably may not be the ideal agricultural ecosystem. But again, that doesn't mean that we can't and shouldn't think about what are the implications that surround that, right? So it's a very fair question and it's a great question, but I don't think that it says that we shouldn't maybe have direct-seeded rice in Japan just like we might want to have direct-seeded rice in India. Yeah. We just need to be thoughtful about what the implications are for India or for Japan.
Frank wants to do.
Yeah, I fully agree, and I think it's a very good point. You also have other, regions or countries where, you have combined kind of business models, right? In Vietnam, you have in some parts actually a combination of transplanted rice and shrimps production, right? I mean that also exists, and I think this is where, of course, we will offer, but we will not force anyone to adapt that direct seeded rice system. But as Bob said, I mean, if you just think about the numbers, 70% of the fresh water consumption globally goes into agriculture. In 45% of that into rice production. I mean, these are just incredible numbers, right? So at least there is now, let's say, an offer and a solution, and I mean, we don't have to transform everything at the same, and certainly not at the same time. But I think it's also good. It's always great to have options, and then, different regions, different countries can make their choices.
Thank you. I think we have another question at the front here.
Hi, Shane Thomas of Upstream Ag Insights. Just have a question regarding the Microsoft collaboration. So throughout the rest of the presentation, you guys talked about future revenue lift, 11 billion, 9 billion. When you look at that Microsoft collaboration, there was no revenue associated with that. Just curious how you guys think about that number growing out to 2030, or how we should think about the monetization scheme around that.
Yeah, that's a great question, Shane. And that was intentional because of just how early we are in this journey. But we see the Microsoft partnership as part of how you help to create interoperability in agriculture and also transform data so it's actually usable for insight generation, right? And so we actually are right now in the midst of redoing some of those numbers with our partners. We think it's a very large opportunity, and at some point in the near future, we will probably start to share what that could look like. But as you know, this is a desperate need in agriculture to increase the interoperability and to be able to use the data in a way that actually generates useful insights. And so we believe this will be useful to lots of customers. And then specifically at Bayer, this is also a way for us to provide new technology to others that we've developed that we can then market and leverage in other ways. We also intend to use the partnership to start to offload some of what we believe is not strategically differentiating digital investment that can now be put on this platform and this partnership. So lots of value opportunities for us, but in the end, a very big opportunity in agriculture.
Great. Other questions in the room? Gentleman there.
Thank you. Grzegorz Kowalczyk, Business Insider, Poland. So the EU regulations on GMO are really restrictive, and at the same time the from farm to fork strategy involve reducing fertilizers. So how will this affect the company's development in the European market?
Yeah, where Frank?
Yeah, I can start. You're exactly right. And this is, of course, also one significant driver for some of the technologies we have seen here today. Certainly, the restrictions on synthetic fertilizers will be a key driver for biological, at least fertilizer enhancements or replacements. Since GMOs or green biotech will, in the foreseeable future, not be a tool, at least not for the European Union. Of course, these technology will need to come from these other technology platforms. We said. Well, there's a little bit of hope when it comes to gene editing. At least, what we are hearing here the last days and weeks. There seems to be now more openness and. I mean, we can only encourage and every, let's say, positive change in terms of technology acceptance in the European Union certainly is good news for farmers and for agriculture. And that alone, so gene editing will be a key technology for European farming, from my perspective, to address some of the needs that you just shared with us.
Yeah, and maybe to build on what Frank just said is, I think it's one of the powers of being Bayer, because we have this complete toolbox of technologies, and we're going to tailor those technologies to the different regions of the world depending on what the economics for those farmers are. So for the Americas, right, we're going to continue to develop GM-based crops. We're going to continue to develop crop protection products. We're going to continue to harness the capabilities in breeding. In Europe, we're going to have more emphasis on biologicals, for example, on precision application, potentially on the carbon topic. So there's just going to be a lot of mix and match, but I think that's one of the beautiful things of our capabilities is that we can really tailor our technologies to what is necessary for each part of the world and what growers are needing in those different parts of the world.
But if you allow me just to build on what they said, because it's an interesting question, just to leave a message as well. We are seeing GMO as an example. We are seeing now approvals in China, in Africa, in other countries in Asia. Of course, in the Americas are very well established. Gene editing has been under that one. what I saw recently in the last years, mainly because of the war, I would say, unfortunately, is that a lot of countries were looking to how can we produce more food, how can we become self-sufficient. And I just leave the message that Bob mentioned before. We welcome every time that the countries, they understand the importance and the relevance of innovation and science to be able to produce more and restore more at the same time. Because to achieve those two things together is not an easy equation. You can achieve one or another. To achieve the two together, you really need innovation and science. So it's just an opportunity to say, every country that I'm talking today, that I see an openness and a willingness to say, Rodrigo or Bayer, how can we bring more innovation to the farmers? We need to help them to produce more and restore more. That is a powerful equation. So we welcome every move on that direction to have innovation in the hands of the farmers globally.
Very good. Okay, so I scan the room for other questions. I have one from the chat, and then we'll come to you. So thank you for raising your hand. But I'll take a question from the chat here, which was, you talked a lot today about this approach to regenerative agriculture, our definition of regenerative agriculture, and our ambition. In which of the projects presented today do you see the biggest potential to deliver on that commitment?
So let me build on that one because it's connected on that previous question. So our view about our contribution, our view about regenerative agriculture is an outcome concept. So what we're looking for, what is your outcome that you're looking for? If you're talking to a farmer or a politician or a stakeholder has any influence in ag, the key question is that what we're looking for. Well, what we're looking for, we want to produce more food because food security is extremely important, but we want to reduce the carbon emission, we want to sequester carbon, we want to preserve biodiversity, conserve water. Well, this is the outcome that you're looking for, that's great. Because this is the definition for us of regenerative agriculture, is producing more and restoring more. How are we going to do that? What is the impact for that one? And that's another element that for every farmer, they will do a different approach. There is different approaches that the farmers will use, and you need to engage them and put them on the stage to decide what they will do and how they will do. We at Bayer, what we are doing is we are developing those systems that can help the farmers achieve these two elements at the same time. And there is no single solution, but it's a lot about what Bob said. So how you have these 5 engines that you saw today on this screen, these 5 engines, and how we combine that, how the digital is providing a lot of more data for the farmers that were not possible in the past. When I was starting my career working with the farmers, we would go in the field and say, well, this field in average is producing that. This field in average is, we are planting this amount of seed. Today, the power of digital allows us to say, oh, on this square foot of this field, we can use this hybrid with this population, and we're going to yield this much, and we're going to use these resources. That really brings the opportunity for us to produce more and restore them at the same time. So I would say that, Tom, to answer your question and see if there is any contribution here, is the combination, is outcome and system approach that I think will make a lot of difference for the farmers and for the planet and for the society. That's a little bit of our view.
Very good. Thanks, Rodrigo. So let's go to the question from our colleague here.
Okay. So, hi, Aleksandra Ptak from Rzeczpospolita, Poland. As I could read in Guardian, they wrote on the 1st of June this year that that some pesticide firms, including Bayer, withheld brain toxicity studies from the EU regulators. The same studies were submitted to the US regulators, and some of them are relevant to the safety levels, the researchers said. And the EU authorities were made aware of the studies 14 to 21 years after the studies were conducted. So, would you like to comment on this situation? And please comment. I would like to have some comment on how safe the pesticides are really, and what is your policy in informing the EU regulators about them? Because the safety of the pesticides is one of the biggest fear of the consumers in Poland and I guess in Europe. So would you like to give some comment on this? Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I'll start very briefly and then Frank can jump in. So first of all, in question for us, right, there were 3 products that we at one time they were selling. We submit what regulators ask for. That's required, and we do that, and we work together with regulators. The studies we generated were for the purposes of registration in the United States. They weren't for the purposes of registration by EFSA. So EFSA didn't ask for them and didn't require them. They actually did have access to them through the EPA because regulatory agencies talk to each other all the time. And we, in fact, know that EFSA actually asked what the results were from the EPA. So they had access to them even if they didn't formally request them. So if a regulator asks for something, we provide it. I mean, that's our obligation and our requirement, and we do that. As it relates to pesticides in general, you know, here's my view. Pesticides are among the most highly regulated products used in any industry. And the safety studies that go behind those products, in my view, you know, typical product that gets registered goes through probably on order of 150 different types of regulatory studies. And we have to demonstrate they're safe for humans. We have to demonstrate that they're safe for non-target organisms. And we have to demonstrate that they're not harmful to the environment. And we use the latest and best science available to do that every single time. Plus, every product that is used goes through re-registration. A product like glyphosate, for example, has been re-registered multiple times by multiple agencies. So I have the utmost confidence in the regulatory setup that is in place for agricultural products. And they're essential for growers. We need these products to help growers not have losses in their crops. And we back that with the safety studies and the help of regulatory agencies that guide us and help make the decision. At the end of the day, regulators are the ones deciding something is safe or not. It's our responsibility to ensure that they have the best and most up-to-date information to do that, and we do that.
Great. I mean, maybe Frank, you also have transparency initiative.
I mean, just I think Bob explained it. So just to maybe summarize this. So at the point when the EU registration took place, we submitted not only the full dossier but all the studies we had. These studies that were in question were only then produced later and were then actually used for the EPA dossier. I want to make and hint also to the fact that we now more than 8 years ago, you know, have actually led a transparency initiative. So actually, you will find our studies that we submit to regulators on our website. So just in case somebody hasn't seen this yet. So we clearly lead here in transparency and make these studies also available to the public.
Great. I just want to add maybe one personal note. Myself, everyone I work with at Bayer, we all have families, we all have friends, we're all consumers of food. I want to go to the grocery store with the same confidence that someone in Poland has the confidence to go to the grocery store and be certain that we're consuming food products that have been produced safely and will not do harm to the environment and will not do harm to our children or our friends or our families. And myself and my team, we remind ourselves of that responsibility every single day that we work. That's our responsibility because it matters to us personally just as much as it matters to any consumer.
Yeah. Thank you. We have a question here from the gentleman at the front.
Hi, this is Rishi Pete with Software is Feeding the World. You know, I liked your story of how you manage things is getting more and more precise. Like your example, you're looking at a field, now you can manage foot by foot. And there are technologies like you know, selective spraying of weeds with herbicides. How does Bayer think about the impact of these type of technologies on your business? That's sort of question number one. And a follow-up to that is, you know, most of the seed and chemical companies model the seed and chemical sort of combined with all the herbicide-resistant traits and all that. It's basically selling a bundle. like long term, do you think technologies like selective spraying of weeds is going to have an impact on your basic sort of seed plus chemical bundle model?
Do you want to start, or do you want me to start, or do you want to start?
No, let me start, and then you guys can. We have a principle that is very important for us. One of the things that we always do is that we put the farmers at the center of everything. So our goal is to help that farmer to be successful. So how can we recommend the technologies, the practices that can help that farmer produce more using the less resources possible, being more profitable possible? Because this is a B2B business, and we are here for the next 100 years. So we need to help those farmers to be successful. If that implies using less products of us, it's fine. We need to help that farmers. We're going to need to deal with that internally. So when we launch a new product with specific formulations that you used to be a very specific application, this is part of the business that we have, right? We disrupt ourselves many times, and we do that with new technologies when we're launching a biotech traits or we're launching like the example of nitrogen fixations. That's part of the business. And we need, as a company, we need to develop new technologies, new areas, new resources that allow us to continue to grow. And it's very important for us to continue to grow because we need to continue to invest. The only possibility to invest 2.6, and we are very proud about that investment. We are very proud of the fact that we have these 7,700 scientists working every day to improve agriculture. This is an amazing opportunity that we have in our organization. Only way of doing that is to continue to grow. Otherwise, we cannot fund that one. And the way to do that is to expand our different scenarios, to be disruptive sometimes, and this is completely fine. What is driving us all the time is a little bit of these two elements that we were talking here, is the farmers and the society. How can we help the farmers to produce more, conserving more, storing more, that we benefit? This is a little bit of that, and we're gonna do that. So I don't know if you guys any comments.
No, I would just want to add, we also in the past we weren't afraid to take decisions that impact our portfolio and reduce volumes, right? I mean, in 2012, we stepped out of WHO Tox 1 class products, products that some of our competitors still sell until today. We, in 2018, actually said we only want to sell products that are at least registered in one OECD country, and we stepped out of the rest immediately. And that's part of our philosophy. And now, of course, precision application will impact volumes. But we want to lead this. We want to be at the forefront of this. So for us, we see this as an opportunity to build a stronger portfolio, more in line what today we call regenerative agriculture.
Perfect. Thank you, Frank. And we have a final question from the gentleman in the blue shirt.
Good afternoon. Rafael, Globo Rural, Brazil. I would like to know when and what of all these solutions will be for Brazilian farmers. And talking about regulation, how Bayer is following the regulatory discussion about pesticides in Brazil, and what is the path of this law in your opinion? What would be the path of this law in your opinion?
Somebody want to take
the Brazilian one?
Yeah.
Will be a long list.
So for the ones that I know, I'm from Brazil originally. So first of all, let me start with the last one. As Bob said, we work with the regulatory agencies, and we have extremely high standards of safety in our company. Because of what you heard, right? Is who is developing the technologies is Bob and Kelly and Jess and Tone and Mike and those are this is what is Bayer, right? Is these people that works on this company that I'm very proud to share, by the way, day after day. So the safety standards that we have is the highest that you can imagine. And we follow all the regulatory agencies. We respect the different agencies. Every country, the agencies, they have a different approach. We always work with them to say, how can we combine the most safety standard and providing the farmers tools and innovations that they can produce more and conserve more and restore more. So that's the same that we're going to do in Brazil. We're going to work with the agents there, with Anvisa, to follow their requirements every time, and we have we do that every time. Always working with them to say, how can we be safe? How can we apply those technologies to the farmers at the same time that we can really develop the future of agriculture? That is very important. On the first question is that Brazil became a very important tropical agriculture or center of agriculture for the world. If you think about North America and Europe, you have this temperate agriculture, Argentina. Brazil became a center of excellence for tropical agriculture. A lot of the technology that we are developing for tropical agriculture, we're going to bring that for Brazil for sure. You saw some of the examples here that was really amazing about the next generations of soybean, the third and the fourth generation. More work in gene editing for the future as well. And again, it's interesting that Brazil, when you think about this tropical environment, a lot of that you can transfer to Africa or to some countries in Asia as well, because of this tropical environment and what is required for the farmers to be successful. But we are excited with the opportunities that we have in Brazil or in Latin America and take the technology there. Because one thing that I share with you is that I love to meet farmers that they have this passion for their land, because this is the most important thing for them, because they leave that for the next generations, right? So for them, when they talk about their land, their soil, they talk with passion, and it's amazing. And this work they do every day to how they can produce food and feed and fuel to this population that we have. So, and they do that in a very responsible way. And we want to help them to tell that story as well. Sorry, it's a long answer, but
a great one to answer to end on. So thank you very much indeed for your question. Very good. So we will call a close here to our Q&A session. I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for your commitment today and to your interest in Bayer. We hope that you've seen insights, information here that help you understand better where we are in the journey that we're going on, and know that your Bayer colleagues are always around you to answer any questions that you have. And indeed, invite you to join us for a drink and a snack here outside in just 1 minute. But I will hand over to Rodrigo, maybe for some closing comments and thoughts for today.
Well, I just want to say thank you, obrigado, gracias, or whatever you get here. Thank you very much for being here. We understand that you put time to make this meeting. We take that with a lot of respect, and we feel proud and honored to have you here today. It's really an opportunity for us to share a little bit our passion, our vision about the future of agriculture, and that's what we do. We are proud to work on this sector and making this engine of innovation, bringing that to the farmers globally. If there is a large farmer, a medium farmer, or a small farmer, we are working with them to the future of agriculture. So thank you very much for your time, for commitment, your attention, and we are more than help to answer any other question that you have or interact with us during the break as well. Thank you very much. Thank you.